of 2025, Nigeria's rapidly growing solar industry could face a major problem. Some politicians are pushing for an import ban on foreign solar products, and USAID, which supports the electrification of health centers, is set to be dissolved, following a decision in Washington.
For now, we are aware that the cost of maintaining those systems is going to run for only a year. Now, that simply means that where there is a problem with that system after that year, we cannot attend to it, meaning the hospitals are going to be in the dark. That means they're going back to where they used to be before.
Solar energy users and providers are hoping at least that the potential import ban can be averted, and that technical innovations can ensure the continued development of renewable energies in Nigeria and a steady and more reliable electricity supply.
The show has given us an idea of not only the challenges, but also a whole lot of new opportunities that are coming along with that energy transition and expansion in Africa.
Actually, we are speaking of 4 million new jobs that could be created in the renewable sector by 2030, and this is across the African continent. But maybe also for you and for you, Chris. Should you ever get fed up of standing in front of the camera? How would you like that?
I'll think about it, Malama. And if you don't see me on the screen anymore, don't worry. I'll be fine creating new business.
Well, thank you for joining us today. If you want to know more, if you have inspiring stories that are making a change in your environment, then write to us at echo@dw.com. And don't forget to check dw.com for more Echo Africa stories from myself and Chris.
Bye for now.
Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner.
Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
BS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as Colorlink Plus.
Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Syntax tank, are you strong? Are you tough?
Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
Good morning and welcome to Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. The Galamsey raids have continued. There have been arrests, including the discovery, quote unquote, discovery of a whole new settlement of persons in excess of the 10,000. Really? and we never knew about this particular settlement? So what will be done in addition to the raids and arrests of hordes of persons, foreign and indigenous, who are involved in this existential threat called Galamsey? Will the state of emergency be declared? The NPP and its spokespersons, including the former minister in charge of lands and natural resources, think a state of emergency is important. Now, what's in the NPP's 2024 election defeat report? The Professor Michael Okoye report that has just been submitted to the party. The party says it will remain confidential, and it also seeks to make some constitutional amendments. We'll seek to understand why all this is necessary. There's been blame game going round. It was Akufo-Addo's fault. It was Bawumie's fault. It was Kenneth Japon's fault. It was the campaign group's fault. And the very concerning matter of the petitions for the removal of the Chief Justice. The NPP is calling on all judges in the country, the Ghana Bar Association, and civil society organizations to be heard to resist the attempt to remove Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki Tokono. We'll right back to deal with these vexed matters. I'm Samson Ladi Anyanini.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain. Ya, yes, in test tank, I'm on a wired thing. And see, I want to say, Chao, and so still, a Juma, oh, weather. Who bet me a check, hello, okay. Ya, Bayamo, I won't ya shit. Ghana, if you be a year water tank and one thing, water synthesis tanker. You more 7 years warranty. Synthesis tank. You will lay a fitabi room. A bonus your room by me with the hokwaji. And your papa change your canina. Say, dear, what's the dia and 2 man hob you? And one is synthesis septic tank. Septic tanky, your size is BAB. Synthesis. Innovative, reliable, durable. Synthesis tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's syntax tank.
There's no feeling quite like wanting something. You see it when you close your eyes. You feel it against the hairs on your skin. You smell it mingled with the wind. You know it's yours, but you just can't seem to reach it. Until you can. Whatever the dream, we can make it happen. So get up, get started, and make me do up.
Now let me tell you why you should choose Safari Valley as your conference destination.
The new conference building combines modern amenities with the tranquility of nature, providing the perfect backdrop for your next seminar and corporate retreat.
The only conference destination with so many activities. You don't have to travel to visit your tennis club, the gym, or the stables. They have it all.
Enjoy this rooftop viewing deck, basking in the sunlight with the sight of wild animals roaming freely in their natural habitat.
At my break, I'm able to practice my putting.
It's a unique experience that sparks creativity and rejuvenates the mind.
Visit Safari Valley Eco Resort in Ghana, bringing you closer to nature.
You're welcome back. And here is Samson's take. Police can arrest and they can search without a warrant. I'm giving this education very briefly for good reason. Our political communicators and commentators are politicians. It doesn't serve our collective interest to miseducate the public. I'm showing you a comment by one politician recently. He said, if you dare, I quote him, I will shoot to death anyone who raids my home without a warrant. MPP Vice Chairman. You know what? He may not be a lawyer, but he has heard some people who he expects to know. And because of their comments and posture, he feels emboldened. He's miseducated. We have heard a former defense minister, for example, insist that an officer told him that his face represents a warrant, so he did not need to show a warrant. And he went mad at that. What we need to identify is who was this officer? If that officer was a police officer of the rank of assistant superintendent under law, generally, he has a right to conduct a search in anybody's home, on anybody's person, without a warrant. Of course, it is limited by law. But to suggest that without a warrant, the security service officers, so authorized by law, with the powers of police, cannot conduct a search without a warrant, is miseducation, and very big miseducation that we must avoid. When it comes to arrest, the police officer does not need to be of any rank, really. Once they have a certain suspicion, or that a crime has been committed, or that it is being committed, or that a crime is actually being committed in their face, they have a right to arrest without a warrant. The The Special Office of Special Prosecutor has these same powers. Office of the Economic and Organized Crime Office have these same powers. Once they are authorized by the right officers, they can do these things. They will not need a warrant to do them under limited circumstances. In fact, you as a private citizen can effect an arrest, of course, without a warrant. Once a crime is being committed in your face, except you are supposed to ensure that you hand over the accused person or the suspect immediately to a police officer. If you don't find a police officer, hand them over to the nearest police station. Let no one miseducate you. It doesn't serve our individual and collective purpose for our protection to say that I will shoot to kill if you came to me without a warrant. That is wrong. It's miseducation. You know what? You're entitled to resist arrest lawfully. There's a lawful way to resist an arrest. Article 14 begins with it very clearly. If you are being arrested, the person must tell you they are a police officer or that they are such an officer of the law enforcement. In fact, officers of the Attorney General have the power of arrest. A state attorney under law, someone of the rank of a state attorney under law, has the power to even effect an arrest. So let's learn about this and not allow political commentators, ignorant people, to unnecessarily miseducate us, to imperil our own collective security. You have a right to resist an arrest, and our courts have said so, but that is only on a matter of procedure, when a procedure has been breached. Not that you feel that what they are seeking to arrest you, you have not committed the offense. Or that they are arresting you, you think, yes. You cannot say you are resisting arrest on that basis. You can only resist an arrest on the basis that the procedure is wrong, not on the substantive issue. And what's the procedure? Article 14. They must tell you, the offense that you have committed for which they are arresting you or detaining you or restricting your movement. And they must tell you in a language that you understand, or get someone else to interpret and speak to you. They must tell you of your rights to remain silent. Otherwise, anything you say will be used against you in the court of law. They must tell you your right to a lawyer of your own choice. If they don't do these things, in Asante versus the Republic, and before that, in Christie versus Lichensky, we have been educated in the law that you have a right to resist the arrest because of failure to follow procedure. So let us all be educated. The police and the persons with police powers can arrest without a warrant, and those of a certain rank, superintendent of police, or under the direction of the director or deputy director of the EOCO or of the special prosecutor, can search you without a warrant under limited circumstances. You can only attempt to use your gun license in self-defense when you are being killed. That's the only circumstance that you can raise that as a defense. And that's my take. We'll be right back.
She's coming. She's coming!
Oh, it's in.
She's coming.
I know. Go to the pharmacy now.
She's coming. Oh. She's here.
Pay faster, pay safer, and pay easy with Momo app. Download now and pay with the QR code, merchant ID, and so much more.
For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Slam. Set your style anywhere in the world by breaking all the rules. Shout with all your soul and sparkle with 1,000 blaze. Pick a color what suits you best and launch the slam movement, yeah. Be someone who lets their presence felt, who dares to get a hold of the here and now with no fears and make our way till tomorrow. Join me, let's do this with the slam. Peace and quiet.
I want to get Polita.
Oh, and you're fine.
Go straight.
No, I want to left, right.
And you that's right. Ghana na ye wono. So when you jomo and ye data. Oh no! Abe, na here. We pe Polita kato. No just come in here by you to be able to buy you. Oh, food to be and enjoy you kura.
Akuya bulambo kotoman. Emuha.
Like they took my eyes. Go to the distributor and you give the original Polytank. You hear the sound?
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest in the studio, Inus Afuseni, is former MP, Tamale Central, former ranking member, Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Frank Davis, Chairman, Constitutional and Legal Committee of the New Patriotic Party. We used to call him the Mugabe, the longest-serving president of the bar in the region here in Accra. Bobby Banson is private legal practitioner. He teaches the law at the Ghana School of Law. He's an author of 2 very good legal texts that I use as well. And we will be joined by Gloria OFORI-ATTA, managing lawyer, GOB Law Consults, adjunct lecturer, Gimpa Law School, and University of Ghana School of Law. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for making time to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Okay, so let's go straight to the very first matter in which the minority, the NPP, not exactly the minority, there was a press conference which was addressed by Mr. Afenyo-Markin together with Justin Frimpong Kodua. And that was at the place where they were, Alisa, where they were receiving the report from Michael Oquay. And they were very straight about this point, that the attempted removal of the Chief Justice is an aberration. And they are calling on all lawyers, all judges, and civil society organizations to rise and be heard and to resist it. So we're going straight to that issue. I suppose since Frank Davis was there and has followed this as well, we may begin with him. But let's Frank says he would prefer that we begin with Yunusa Hussaini. So let me begin with Yunusa Hussaini. But thanks that you are here. I've also seen stuff on social media that your farms are under siege, being taken away from you in Mampurugu because you have made certain comments about the Bawku situation. I've never hosted a show on Bawku situation without the two sides coming at me. What's happening? What have you done?
Well, so Samson, thank you for having me. Just last week, Saturday, a program was hosted on another platform. The topic, the Bawku conflict, was not part of the issues for discussion, but just on the spur of the moment, like you journalists do. You ask people's opinions on how the matter could be solved. So I proffered some opinions, some my opinions on how we could restore peace in Bawku. Thursday, there was a megadon. The whole Manpurusi kingdom descended on me. I had challenged the sovereignty of the Bawku Naba. The Nairi over Bawku. The comments simply touched the raw nerve of the Manpurusi people and provoked an avalanche of attacks on me. In fact, visceral anger could be seen from the attacks through social media on my person and threats.
We have heard the Nairi speak for the very first time in a long time.
Yes.
What did you say?
I was just proffering, I was talking about how, in my view, we could pursue peace. Okay. And in proffering my view, it appeared to the Mampurusis that I was spreading the narrative of the Kusasis. Unfortunate. That was not my view. And you know me, sometimes. I don't double in mischief. My honest view was proffered. And unfortunately, it turned out that the view was aligned to the view of the Kusasis. And so I was transported from a Dagumba to a Kusasi. And you don't believe it. You won't believe it. Now, the passions that it evoked, the emotions that were pouring out against my person. Now, so upon deep reflection, I said, no, I think that what I said did not sit well with the Mampurusis. It was not meant to destabilize the status quo ante. It was not meant to side with any group. It was simply pursuing, in my view, what we could do to bring justice to Bawku, or peace to Bawku. And upon deep reflection, I think that I owe the Mampurusi youth an apology. I also owe the Nairi an apology and his Council of Chiefs. So I'm happy you've provoked this discussion even before we go into the Chief Justice's matter. I'm using your platform, Samson, with the greatest respect to you, to render an unqualified apology to the youth of Mamprugu, to the Nairi, and to his Council of Chiefs. That it was never my intention. In fact, I bear some close affinity to the Mamprusis. So I was surprised that my statement had simply transported me from somebody who bears close affinity to the Mamprusis to Ekusase. I've become a better person. I've now been able to put the conflict in proper perspective.
Okay.
And so, once again, this is Lent. Lent is a period of forgiveness also.
It's over, actually.
It's over?
Lent is over.
It's
over on Sunday.
It's over on Sunday.
Today is Holy Saturday.
Holy Saturday.
Holy Saturday blessings.
So, blessings.
The blessings.
Yeah. So, in fact, today is Holy Saturday, and so I pray that my apology will be accepted by the Mamprusi people, the youth, my brothers in Mamprugu, and the Nairi, and all those who have been hurt, deeply hurt by the statements that I made.
Okay.
Intended just to pursue peace.
All right.
I have since spoken to the leaders of the Mamprugu Youth Association, and many people. I attended school in Nelilgu. I taught in Wale. So, so that was it.
Okay.
And though all those people who had made comments, who had made videos, who had spoken emotionally on the matter, I owe you an apology. I apologize to you. It was not intended to provoke you to that level of visceral anger.
Okay. And earlier I was referring to the Mamprugu overlord, and he has asked government to act to end the banditry and domestic terrorism in Bawku. The king of Mamprugu, Na Bohoga Abdullahi Mahami Sherega, has called on the government to take decisive and immediate measures to end all forms of armed violence and protect his people in the Bawku traditional area of the Upper East region. The Nairi has expressed concern over reports of violence. It's no more a question of reports. These are actually happening. Violence, and then he says the violence are targeting members of the state security services and banditry along the Bogatanga Bawku Polimango Highway. Yes, Polimango Highway. We hope that some action will be taken and peace will be restored. Thank you all very much. In the course of the week, I had just too many of the people from both factions, Mapusi and Kosasi, sending me messages, but we ourselves have become a bit careful.
Yeah.
Because there's no one single day that we have discussed the Bawku situation here and you don't suffer attacks from both sides. Yeah. We pray that peace will be found and found very quickly. Yes, so let's do this. Let's play the press conference and then we come to you. Okay. Right.
And I'll start.
Okay, then I'll come to Frank Davis.
We don't want people to go out and distort facts. We don't want our members to make irresponsible statements. We are cautioning our members that report is in. We are yet to even deliberate on the report. So people should be very circumspect in their utterances and their discussions on radio. We are one family, and the most important thing is unity in the party. We should watch our utterances. It's not about accusation and counter-accusation. Let's stay focused. The leadership of the party has a roadmap. We know what we are about, and very soon the timetable for all the major activities in the party will be brought out for all of us to know and to prepare ourselves as to what transpired at NEC and National Council. If you recall, somewhere in January, National Council had an emergency meeting, and at the emergency meeting, the council set up a review committee to do a postmortem of the 2024 elections. And today, the committee led by Reverend Professor Iroma submitted their report to National Council. National Council accepted the report, but there are several steps that we need to take as a party. As we receive the report today, we need to sit down and deliberate on the report. And key among the discussions that we had at National Council, and also based on the summary evening presentation that was done by Professor Makirofe, there will be a need for some constitutional amendment. So based on that, the National Council has constituted a 9-member committee to look at Professor Makirofe's report, particularly emphasis on where issues of proposals or amendment has to be made to our constitution.
A sincere apologies for that. Right after he spoke, then Afenyo addressed the specific issue that we want to begin the discussion with. What you have just heard, we will play that back to you, but when we are dealing with the NPP's, search or the committee's work that has been done. Afenyo Marking at that press conference said, and I quote, "The judiciary should not be seen as part of the partisan political system in our country. All we need is an impartial judiciary to dispense justice. What is happening is unacceptable, and it is clear that the NDC government wants to infiltrate the judiciary by making it partisan." He continued, "The judiciary must stand together as one body and make a full statement and condemn this action. The Ghana Bar Association must stand for the judiciary. Civil society organizations must stand for the judiciary." There are other people within the NPP, lawyers within the NPP, John Darko, as well as Nana J. Bafo Ewa, who is MP for Menshia, and John Darko, who is MP for Swame, all making similar statements in support of Afenyo Marking's call. There is also Dr. Prince Hamid Ama, former MP for Kwesi Mintin, joining this as well. Of course, we have had Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, Director of Policy Engagement and Partnerships at the CDD, write a whole piece about this and saying removing and replacing the Chief Justice would only introduce a new appointee with similar political baggage, repeating the same cycle. Legislative reform is the more effective path. I hear Afenyo Marking's sound is ready.
MPs are now being harassed by expressing their views on governance issues. We urge government to demonstrate tolerance. After all, when they were in opposition, they were at liberty to raise a number of issues. The recent event at the residence of Reverend Ntim Fojo leaves so much to be desired. Very unfortunate. In any event, they could have used due process of law to, invite him. And then the final point, government must focus on issues of governance, creating jobs, and helping better the lives of the people. We are still aware that a lot more are being dismissed from various state institutions that are even very independent and are limited liability companies, and whose budgets do not rely on government budgets. They are very independent, who have recruited people for 18 months, 12 months, and they are just being sacked here and there. Government must take note of it. We are also concerned about an attempt by certain individuals in government to push for the removal of the Chief Justice. The judiciary should not be seen as part of the partisan political system in our country. All we need is to have an impartial judiciary to dispense justice what is happening is unacceptable. And it's clear that the NDC government wants to infiltrate the judiciary and make it partisan. But my advice to all judges in the country, stand together. Let not somebody create an impression of one of you and think that by dislodging one of you, you will be the next. The next day, you would also be the next. So judges in the country must stand together. The judiciary must stand as one body and make a full statement to condemn this act. The Ghana Bar Association must also stand for the judiciary. Civil society organizations must stand for the judiciary. All these flimsy, pedestrian excuses, looking at what is out there, I mean, you wonder whether these are real, grounds for the removal of a Chief Justice. And, well, this is NDC for you. Some hardliners are still pushing for it. So I would plead with President Mahama. I see him as a statesman because this is his last and final term. So he's no more part of the mainstream politics.
Right. Frank.
Yes, Samson, thank you very much. And a good morning once again to your esteemed viewers, listeners, and the generality of all Ghanaians. Yeah, Samson, we are in very difficult and challenged times, and one will have wished that we were not, to borrow the esteemed language of my senior Fareboa, we were not in this caboodle. I just had a little chat with Inusa before we came to the studio, and you see something, it's not the removal per se of a Chief Justice which is the problem for me, because it's a constitutional structure. I mean, it is founded under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. So if that is being exercised by citizens of this country, that there's a basis for the removal of a Chief Justice, it should not be too much of a heightened problem to me, because this is not the first time that petitions have been forwarded to the presidency for the removal of a certain Chief Justice. Quite recently, Professor Kwekwaza sent a petition. The petition was roundly dismissed. It was found out that there was no prima facie case for the determination of the removal of the Chief Justice. So the Constitution permits it, but it's the way and manner the whole process has been skewed, handled, and perhaps manipulated by partisan political considerations. That is where, for me, the problem is. And in our political democratic dispensation, the only time that a sitting Chief Justice was attempted, there was a veiled attempt to remove a sitting Chief Justice, but it didn't work. That was Justice Fred Apalu. Otherwise, the Chief Justices who were removed from office, we all know the circumstances and situations under which they were removed. It was all military government. Akukosa, and I think, was it Charles Bannerman or one of them? Two of them were removed by military dictators. So that, for me, is the aberration. But in a constitutional setting, if the processes are followed through and there is a valid case for the removal of a Chief Justice, I mean, who can quarrel against it? But when the issues are so muddied and there's a persistent refrain by people who should know better, that is where the worry is. I have listened to an interview granted by the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbandi. Well, he has not come out to disassociate himself from that interview. So I take it that as of this morning, that is what his take is on the removal of the Chief Justice, per se. And the kind of language that he used, I mean, for me, for a Deputy General Secretary of a ruling party and a sitting government, it's troubling. You know, he goes on to make a definitive pronouncement that this Chief Justice will go. After that, it will be the Electoral Commissioner and other heads of independent institutions in the country. I mean, I think it is needless. It is so needless. And that apart from these petitions, these 3 petitions that we have been told of, there are a load of others coming. I mean, who actually has been feeding him with this information? And how did he get to know that other persons were bringing petitions for the removal? Why is it stage managed? And for me, a Deputy General Secretary of the NDC should not be talking this way, because it fuels the atmosphere and it gives other people the opportunity to also make statements which otherwise they would not have made.
He spoke yesterday.
Yeah, was it yesterday? Yes. And now, with the greatest respect, I say this with a lot of pain, but the national chairman of NDC, Edwin Ketia, was also on radio. And, you know, statements like we need to reset the country and we should start with the judiciary and then we go to the Electoral Commission. And what is that supposed to mean? Because if the national chairman of the NDC is also in active cahoots, in active support of this refrain, what is being reset? Or what is being reset? Look, it is just an incident of political history that I guess in the last 5 Chief Justices that we have had, Justice George Kingsley Akwa, Georgina Wood, Sophia Akufu, but I guess if I say Justice George Kingsley Akwa and I say it comes to please. I don't think we are here for that. We are the Chief Justices we have had. Chief Justice Kingsley Akwa, Mrs. Georgina Wood, Madam Sophia Akufu, Enini Yeboah, and Mrs. Gertrude Toko. Well, by incidents of political history, I mean, all these justices were justices who were appointed by the NPP government. But it's not something that anyone could have anticipated. But that is what happened. And can we say that these justices of the Supreme Court and Chief Justices have not distinguished themselves creditably? You see, when decisions are handed in court, we look at the basis of the decisions and make a critique of the decisions. But if because a Chief Justice has been appointed by a ruling government and decisions are handed, then it means that that Chief Justice is politically inclined. I found no merit in that reasoning. And what is the basis, some of the basis, the things that people have said loudly about why this present CJ should be removed, that they refer to the unanimous decisions in the 2020 presidential election petition. But come on, she wasn't even the Chief Justice at the time. The Chief Justice was Enini Yeboah. She was only a panel member of the constituted bench of the Supreme Court, which heads the petition. So how can you hang that on her and say that because of that she should be removed and that the judiciary should be sanitized? In what way or manner? In any event, we are all students of the law. Some say you're a trained lawyer. I'm a trained lawyer. Inusa is a trained lawyer. Gloria is a trained lawyer. Bobby is a trained lawyer. Fortunately, all of us here are lawyers. Now, I maybe people will say I'm speaking from a point of prejudice, but I always speak my mind as a trained lawyer. As I'm saying, I mean, it is not for glorification, but you know my stance on certain discussions we have had, both on radio and privately. And I don't mince words when I know what is happening. Does not sit with me. But
that's right.
But please, let's be cautious. Because if we take a systemic and determined attempt to destroy our institutions of state, it is the country that will suffer. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. Let us maintain this separate, distinct arms of government and let them all do their work independently. Now, a typical case of this 2020 election petition, which has generated this fury and this unanimous 9 or 7, whatever people are saying. Some say, between us all here as trained lawyers, is it mandatory for any defendant to open his or her defense in a case?
We have gone beyond it. I don't know why sometimes, I'm tempted, sometimes why the politicians, even those who are lawyers, they turn the law upside down.
I mean, it's not mandatory. Is it mandatory for a defendant in a case, both civil and criminal, is it even mandatory, even with a criminal trial, where you suffer the penalty of imprisonment, a fine, or sometimes you are hanged or you are jailed for life? It is not mandatory that the accused person should open his defense or her defense. It is the burden of the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused person beyond all reasonable doubts. In a civil trial, it is the burden of the plaintiff to prove beyond the preponderance of probabilities that you have made out a case. If the defendant elects that, look, I'm not going to say anything, I'm going to rely on my statement of defense, what can be so nauseating? What can be so bad about it? In fact,
in a civil matter, that statement of defense will be struck off. And then and
that is used as a weapon. And sometimes this is found by lawyers. Come on. You know, now.
There was a suggestion that this was some sort of sui generis of a matter that the EC at least should get in the box.
Oh, Samson. There is no bar to civil responsibilities in a civil trial, no matter how sui generis the matter is. You cannot change civil procedure. You cannot change the rules and orders of court. If it is A, it is A. We don't skew because it's sui generis. In any event, something. Aside of the CJ, we also had indication that the petition had been forwarded for the removal of Justice Scott Poorman by another citizen of the Republic. Just a day or two ago, I heard that petition has been withdrawn. What does it make of it? Quietly, that matter has been determined. If the petition is withdrawn, it's gone. But did we hear the cacophony of noises which have been made in respect of Georgina Wood? She's been given the petition, she submitted a response, and we are waiting for what would happen. I beg and plead with all Ghanaians, and the political actors especially, that we should refrain from making judgmental and prejudicial comments. It does not help the narrative, it does not help the discussion. Now, before I leave this space, Samson, why is it that sometimes we pick and choose? When it is good for us, then all is well. And when it's not good for us, then it is inevitably bad. We're all in this country. There was a very high-profile criminal trial involving Ato Forson and Richard Japa about causing financial loss to the state. The lawyers for the two accused persons, of course, the third one was discharged on medical grounds, lodged an appeal in the Court of Appeal. There was a 2-1 verdict in the Court of Appeal. And Atuforsen and Richard Japa were acquitted and discharged. What does that make of our judiciary? And what does that make of the Court of Appeal? That the two justices, Justice Bright Mensah J.A. and Akabuafo, who were in the majority in that decision, are pliant NDC judges. I mean, you see, when we do some of these things, it becomes laughable. So it means Akabuafo and Justice Bright Mensah are NDC judge acolytes. So they decided that they will acquit and discharge Atuforsen and Japa. But these are justices who are appointed by sitting presidents. Akabuafo was appointed by President Akufo-Addo. Bright Mensah was appointed during the tenure of the MPP government. So the other justice, Opukwa Champon, was also appointed in the NDC, in the MPP regime. So then what makes of the other two justices?
He moved from Judicial Secretary to
Judicial Secretary to the Court of Appeal. Okay. So what makes of them? The two of them are okay. NDC judge acolytes.
So catch your breath.
Come on.
And then let's hear from your other colleagues. Yes, Sinusa. As Frank Davis says, the Constitution provides for this. And welcome to Gloria. Thanks very much for joining us. As I announced earlier, we were expecting her to join us, and she just came to the studio. Gloria OFORI-ATTA, managing lawyer at GOB Law Consult and also adjunct lecturer at GIMPA and the University of Ghana School of Law. Thanks for joining us. Right.
Thank you.
So, as you heard, he doesn't have a problem because the Constitution provides for this. I have said this is sort of the only potent accountability mechanism for such officers like judges and the Chief Justice. And it also has good protection for their office. So he has no problem with that. If a judge has misconducted themselves, it should be triggered and they should go through the process. And if, the act's false, why not? But his concern is what he says, skewed and the manipulated nature, fashion of the process. He says there appears to be a systemic and determined attempt to destroy the judiciary.
Well, so Samson, once again, let me say good morning to your cherished viewers and welcome, Gloria. In my early practice of law, I was closely affiliated to FIDA. On one occasion, I restrained a man from coming 100 meters close to his house because of the way he was treating the wife.
Thank you.
Yes, and Nana Oye was then working with me, and she handed over the case to me. So, well, welcome.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yes. Now, I completely agree with Frank Davis, former president of the Ghana Bar, Greater Accra, when he says that we should be careful not to politicize matters of the judiciary. I completely agree. But in this case, it appears to me that it is the MPP that is politicizing the whole thing. Because, Samson, in 2024, there was a similar petition against a removal, for the removal of Madam Tokuno. And you recall when Tokuno was nominated for vetting, I was one of those who said, well, it was a good nomination. I publicly said it. The National Security Coordinator called me to congratulate me for saying it openly. And I still think that, well, she had a very brilliant opportunity to leave a legacy.
And she has shown that she wants to leave a legacy, her leading justice project, right?
So it is not, it is not out of place to say that, well, a Chief Justice who misconducts herself in office should be left in office misconducting herself. No. But it is totally wrong for a political party to assume the fight to protect a Chief Justice. What the MPP is doing currently is implanting on the minds of people that the current Chief Justice is sympathetic to the MPP. If they don't know that, and I had a discussion with Frank Davis, and I said it is even becoming increasingly difficult to talk about a Chief Justice. Because, mind you, she is Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana.
Fair enough.
Yes. So now, what are we doing? That her lawyers, the people who have gone to court to restrain the president from acting in the face of the Constitution are all MPP. What does this send? What signal does this send? They are doing Madame Tokono a disservice. And I simply do not understand why MPP is so jumpy. I don't understand. Look, when Koko Azar forwarded the petition to the former president Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, we never heard of the petition until Koko Azar himself published the petition, or somebody published the petition. Nana Akufo-Addo consulted with the Council of State pursuant to Article 146 of the Constitution, took the response of the Chief Justice, Tokono, and decided that the petition did not raise any prima facie case against the Chief Justice.
Threshold.
Did you hear anybody complain?
No. They were muted.
Yeah, they were muted.
Muted response.
But not of the type that we are seeing now. And that is the problem. If MPP doesn't know that they are creating the problem, I'm telling them that they are creating the problem. Look, our Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution has established institutions and has allocated power to those institutions. We are lawyers. It is only when a duty bearer of public law fails, refuses, neglects to comply with the procedure provided by the Constitution, that we jump into action. Not so. That is our defense. Long ago, Moshe and Bajina established the principle. Rule of law is not only limited to substantive law, but also to what? Procedure. Long ago, that principle has been repeated in many cases in this country. So we as lawyers will watch closely what is happening. Is the president going to short circuit the process and see whether the rights of the Chief Justice will be protected? I've looked at the 1960 Constitution and also the draft report to the 1960 Constitution. And therein, the drafters provided reasons why they departed from the American practice and the British practice. American practice, when the Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature is going to remove, is done by impeachment by Congress. Political. In the British Parliament, when a Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature is going to be removed, is done by Parliament. Political. But in our situation, the 1960 Constitution said, no, there should be a judicial tribunal. That judicial tribunal must not be too legalistic. Must go through the Council of States. Why not Parliament? Because if we were Parliament, they'll simply debate the matter. They'll vote on the matter. Can you imagine if the Constitution had said that the Chief Justice can be removed by a vote of 2/3 majority in Parliament? The Chief Justice would have been on her way out by long ago. But the framers of the Constitution, right from 1960, in 1967, came to the conclusion, no, not 1969, the 1969, the Second Republic, came to the decision that we needed to insulate the office of the Chief Justice against partisan political manipulation. So we ourselves must not be inviting partisan political manipulation in the Chief Justice. Why is it that Article 1461 provides grounds? Why? So you can't just submit that. I've heard somebody say that when the former president, as flag bearer of the NDC, was addressing the Ghana Bar Association, the Chief Justice pulled a face at him. And I say that pulling a face at the former president cannot, by any stretch of imagination, qualify as stated misbehavior. Can it?
Stated misbehavior, incompetence, or...
No, but I'm just taking the grounds one by one.
The grounds, yeah.
And so, pulling a face cannot be. Now, it is also for good reason.
Did she even pull a face?
What I'm saying is,
assuming that she even did
that. Assuming that she even did that, does it qualify under gross misconduct?
Oh, God.
Or misbehavior? No. In my respective view, no.
Or incapacity to perform
her duties. No. You cite unanimous FC. And I say, look, this was a decision of the court. Then if you are going to sack Chief Justice based on that, then you are sacking the whole Supreme Court.
She was not even.
That is why, so again, I come back to the MPP. That is why a petition must disclose the grounds on which a Chief Justice
ought to be
removed. And that petition must pass the threshold
for prima facie.
And that threshold determination is to be done by the Council of State and the President. See, I said the President has acted in good faith in this particular matter. Why? There is no provision of law that says in the determination of the prima facie, the response of the Chief Justice be imputed. In fact, when you read Ajay Chum, it's very clear. That responsibility is vested in the President acting in consultation with the Council of State. Except that Ajay Chum, that says that the Council of State must play a prominent role.
No, they could seek the advice of a reputable lawyer.
Yes, no, so that was a recommendation. Now, but Samson, when Chief Justice Dokuno wrote to the President and said, Mr. President, in matters of the removal of justices of the Superior Court, when a petition is sent to me, I have developed a practice where I take responses from the justices whose conduct is the subject matter of a petition to determine prima facie.
Judge Nawood was also doing so.
Yes. So, Mr. President, I want you to extend that favor to me. And the President did. He did. That's good faith. You could have simply said, oh, no, that favor is not, you are not entitled to that favor. But he did. He did. So, please, removing a Chief Justice from office.
You are saying this was being sought as a matter of favor or courtesy. But that is the basis of a lawsuit, that until she's made her response for the determination of the prima facie, everything should fly out of the window.
Also, auditory part of the rule.
So you see, for me, again, you say ordinary part the rules of natural justice. Ajay Chum settled the matter beyond doubt on the position of natural justice against statutes. Even when you look at Article 11 of the Constitution.
Not to cut you in. If you read carefully what Dateba wrote, it all lined with the thinking of lawyers that if something has been founded against someone, the person should be given an opportunity to make a response before it.
Well, that's an inference. That's an inference. That's an inference. Yeah. I want us to.
It also has to be clear, because we have established on this table.
Yes.
I asked Nana J. Bafo, and he was straightforward. Those decisions, pronouncements, were side comments.
Yes.
They were orbital. Right.
Orbiter. Now, so what I'm saying is that it's very important for us to know that, and I'm sure the president is keenly aware that it is an onerous responsibility imposed on him in dealing with petitions for the removal of a Chief Justice. The president has only one term, and he wants to leave a legacy. And that is why he must balance the requirement of the law with the requirement of public interest to safeguard the integrity of the judiciary. Everybody knows that in any country at all where the judiciary is bastardized, the rights, privileges of the citizens will be compromised. And the judiciary can no longer protect the citizens against a marauding executive. So everyone knows the importance that the judiciary plays in safeguarding the rights of individuals. So I do not think for the life of me that if the petitions, and it's for good reason that the drafters of the Constitution said everything associated with the removal of a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, including the Chief Justice, must be in camera. Because you are also seeking to protect the sanctity, dignity of the office of the Chief Justice, and also protect her person against ridicule. And that's why, even in the Ajay case, the court condemned the fact that that petition had already been leaked to the public. So, look, I will advise MPP.
Advise everyone.
Now, they are, in my view, they are the culprits here.
Advise everyone.
Because they seem to be very jumpy. And they are drawing the removal process into politics. Are they suggesting that Tokunu is their most favorite Chief Justice? Aban. Wasn't a petition sent against the removal of Aban? Did it happen? It didn't happen. What, page 13 or page what? Page. What? Page 13. Yes. Did it happen? It didn't happen. Because everybody knows the onerous responsibility. Why do you think that this one will just go like that? Are we saying that the Council of State will not help the president to determine whether a prima facie? And are we even saying that when the committee of 5, if they determine a prima facie and the committee of 5 is now constituted to go into the matter, that they will not exonerate the Chief Justice? Is that what? Have we come to that conclusion? We are so far away from the removal of the Chief Justice to be holding press conferences in calling on the Bar Association and chiefs. We're so far away, unless, of course, we doubt the integrity and reputation of the members of the Council of State in advising the president. So I will pray.
Is it really about the members of the Council of State? Because they will not constitute the panel.
See. Look at the provisions of the
Constitution. 2 justices of the Supreme Court.
Yes. 3 others.
And then 3 others who are not members of the Council of State, who are not lawyers, who are not MPs.
Yes. Again, that should speak volumes to you. Because they don't want the biases of the Council of State to influence the removal process.
But who appoints?
They don't want legalese.
Who constitutes this committee is important.
Yes, the committee will be constituted by the Council of State acting together with the president. That's part of the consultative process. So again, look at the formulation in Article 146.3 and 146.10. 146.3 says in consultation. 146.10 says on the advice. So even there is a procedural limitation on the exercise of the power of the president to suspend the Chief Justice. Or you don't see it. The suspension can only happen
after the advice.
After the advice. It's a procedural limitation. And so we should be very careful in the way we are going on with this matter.
Okay. So I've noted a number of questions for the two of you, but we'll go and come back. Yes, Bobby, what do you see? Is Afenyo in any error by saying judges should stand united? GBA, you are a member of the GBA. Of course, Afenyo is a member of the GBA. Calls his peers that we should stand up. Yes, we're all. We should stand up and be heard and resist the attempt to remove the Chief Justice. He talks to the judges and say, don't be excited about it, because if you get to be the Chief Justice, if Justice Tokono is removed, you may suffer the same fate. Inusa is bringing up a number of questions. It's as if it is guaranteed that the CJ will be removed, and that if the CJ is removed, whoever will come will commit sins that can trigger 146, and so that person too can be removed.
Very. He
talks about the lawyers who are taking up the matter. The Chief Justice is not in court. It is Vincent Asefwa and one other gentleman, Daniel something, who are in court questioning the process. Asefwa is an MP. He's entitled to take Godfrey Dame as his lawyer. What's wrong with that?
As I'm saying, good morning. I think that this whole issue with the current Chief Justice should, as Dr. I think Pumpuni said, should lead to legislative reforms for me. Because otherwise it will become a political ping-pong of NDC, MPP. At the end of the day, the institution itself is what to be bastardized. Unfortunately, we've had a situation where the country is so polarized on political lines.
Just a second for me, and let me bring this to the attention of our viewers and listeners ahead of time. We apologize that in the course of this show, we will go to Kwehu to listen to the president for some 20 minutes. And because of that, the show has also been extended by some 30 minutes. There is a business summit going on in Kwehu, seeking to enlist about, 900 or 600 business people to seek to see what development they can bring to bear, not only in Kwehu, but the whole of the country. And the president will be speaking. There'll be 20 minutes of that will be taken by Newsfile.
Okay. So if we are not careful, and whatever happens with this current petition, it may leave a sour, taste in the minds of people who are interested genuinely in building institutions. The point I was making is that unfortunately in our country now, there's high-level polarization on political divide. In fact, there's more division on political lines than, I dare say, on even tribal or whatever lines. Now, if you look at the executive and the legislative arms of government, in the last parliament, it was so polarized that for about 3 months, there was no sitting because of the hanged parliament. The only institution of state that the framers of the Constitution intended to step in, for lack of a better word, to resolve some of these issues with the level of independence is the judiciary. Now, for me, Article 125 says that justice emanates from the people of Ghana. And so we, the people, are ultimately responsible for safeguarding and promoting the independence of the judiciary. Of course, by using the procedure and the processes set out in the Constitution and other instruments of law that governs that scenario. There is absolutely nothing wrong with any citizen at all filing for the petition of the Chief Justice. The Constitution provides that it must be on these grounds. The Constitution went ahead to provide for the procedure to be used by the President in consultation with the Council of State. It was not until a J2 that the Supreme Court said there is a gap in that Article 146. It came about as a result of another challenge by a citizen. And so I will not necessarily fault Vincent Asifua and his lawyers, for lack of a better word. If you take away their political division, because I don't think Vincent Asifua filed the suit and he put there in his capacity as I'm doing it as MPP. Mm-hmm. He said he's a citizen of Ghana. Perhaps, the relief that he is seeking, the same way as was done in Ejechum, because before Ejechum, we didn't say that there was that gap that needed to be filled. So perhaps with the relief that Vincent Asifua Honorable is seeking, it may lead to another interpretation or application of that constitutional provision that may add another layer to the process, or it may not. So I will not want to fault them necessarily for taking that step. Just as every citizen of Ghana has the right to petition for the removal of the Chief Justice, the same way Article 2 guarantees the right of every citizen to bring a writ in the Supreme Court for interpretation and application of the process. Now, in these times, my challenge is that, and Honorable Fuseni spoke about the integrity of the process. I think that the framers of the Constitution, perhaps at the time they were saying these proceedings ought to be held in camera, looking at the times that we are in, that provision may not really be helpful. And the reason for me saying is that we have seen on social media commentaries by persons from both sides of the political divide seeking to adduce the contents of the petition.
Not only on social media, on traditional media
as well.
Yeah.
Now, nobody is chesting out to say that I have the document. This is what he says. But they are saying you read things like...
The documents have been leaked.
I have not seen it.
But it is up to those who have received the leaked document to decide what they do with them. If you leak them to me, I will not use them.
Then that is where the problem arises, because the Chief Justice, I don't think would want to issue a statement to say that, listen, I have read so and so and so on mainstream and traditional media saying that these are the contents of the petition. This is not the content. This is actually the content. I don't think that the presidency will also issue a statement to say what you are seeing on social media is not the content. And that leaves a lot to be desired. Because at this stage, to the best of my knowledge, we may all be speculating as to the content of the said petition. And so if Honorable Afenyo-Markin says that the GBA and the judges should stand up against the attempt to remove the Chief Justice, maybe he has his foot on what the content of the petition is. I do not. I can only speak to the procedure that the Constitution says should be followed.
In fact, in the press comment, he suggested that the grounds or the things that are being used to trigger the petition are sort of frivolous. And you would have heard also former First Deputy Speaker, Joe Wise, also say that if what he has seen to be the content of the petition are what they are, he doesn't believe that they should end up in removing a Chief Justice. And in traditional media, you have heard, for example, Paul Admocheri also talk about one of the petitions. There are three. Talk about one of the petitions, and he lists a number of grounds. Even though he listed about three, that particular petition is supposed to have in excess of 21 plus, I think, 4 different grounds. But he picked about 3 or 4 and gave responses to them. And the people are making their minds around some of these
Therein
things.
lie the attack on the integrity of the process. Because now the framers in 1992 perhaps did not anticipate that there will be proliferation of media or information to this extent that these days when you write something to the presidency, before you, the person who went to submit it, you leave, is already on social media. And that is worrying. And so you see the Chief Justice in a certain situation. I was in court once where an objection was raised to the constitution of a panel at the Court of Appeal. The panel. The basis of the objection to the constitution of the panel was that one of the parties in the case was, for lack of a better word, the spiritual father of the Chief Justice. And so for that reason, an objection had been raised to the constitution of the panel. And this matter had to be adjourned for the Court of Appeal judges to deliver a ruling. And so sometimes you have some of these things being thrown in where it will be very difficult to justify or to support them. Some of the people that I've seen made comments on social media about the alleged contents are people that in the past have made comments against government institutions, government appointees. They've not backed it up with any evidence when they were called to. And so I sit and I say, okay, in the past you said A, B, C, D. There's no evidence. Now you are saying this. It leaves me or any person who is interested in following the integrity of the process challenged. So I will suggest that perhaps going forward, with the consent of the parties involved, it may be necessary for the contents of the petition to be made to, and the response with the consent of the parties involved. Because we can't shy away from the fact that whether it is formally made public or leaked, once there is a petition against the Chief Justice, there is a questioning of the administration of justice under that particular Chief Justice.
Interesting. If the president is going to be impeached, we'll know the content of why he's going to be impeached, and it will happen in Parliament.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if the Chief Justice is almost on the same level of a removal process,
why should it
should be made public?
That is my...
But presently, in Utaderi, the Supreme Court gave a caution that if it is leaked, there can be consequences.
Yes. Yes.
The consequences can include a suit in torts, a declaration to the breach of the provision, and even criminal sanctions.
I agree. That is why I'm saying that going forward, the framers, or because the Constitution is under review, it may become necessary that with the consent of the parties involved, to avoid some of these... No, it may, because as it stands now, the speculation is fueling what it is not.
Let them fuel it.
But at the end of the day,
I think so.
No, at the end of the day, the ordinary person...
These are fuel, excuse me, I mean, busy, good for nothing, busy.
We'll come to that, and to the point that actually a poll has been conducted.
I was going to go to that. The 51 or a certain percentage are in support of the removal. But have they seen the content of the petition?
Definitely not.
That's what I'm saying.
That was the point I was going to make. Comes out to say that he has undertaken a poll.
The contents have been leaked.
I have not seen it.
Social media.
Oh, I have not seen it. I have not seen it.
But the interesting thing is that the contents of the petition which were submitted to the presidency have been leaked. But fortunately, the responses of the Chief Justice
have not.
So there's an integrity when it comes to the part of the Chief Justice.
Yes.
But there's no integrity when it comes to the part of the presidency.
How do you say
that? Is a serious... Please, I'm making my point. And so, whatever happened, the petition went to the president.
But there are more than one petition.
There are three petitions.
So
according to our constitution, when it comes to the petition for the removal of the, what do you call it, Article 146, Clause 6, the petition is submitted to the president, isn't it? So if we are going by that, then that is where the petition was submitted, and that is where
the fallacy is.
Took place.
That's what
what upsets me is that when it came to the petition, there was no integrity in providing confidentiality and sanctity to the grounds of the petition. But when it comes to the Chief Justice, her integrity must be assured, because she could also have leaked her responses, especially if the responses were saying no to each of the grounds of the petition. So in this case, I believe that we must educate the public that when you hear one-sided version of a legal matter, please keep quiet. Don't jump to conclusions, because in law, we have something called let's hear the other side. The one that, it's a long sentence in
Latin.
Audi alteram patent. But once you hear the word alteram, you know it means look at the alternative.
Yeah.
So please, public, if you are listening to me, when you hear a one-sided petition, keep quiet. Let's also be patient and hear the response. If the response has not come from the Chief Justice, that means the petition has been leaked, in what do you call it? And it's contrary to that
hearing the other side. So let's hold on there.
The question
I don't want to use the word all the other.
The question I'm raising to you now.
So please, let's hold on when it comes to the petition.
No, so the question I'm raising to you now is
for the other side.
Okay.
Please.
So
unfortunately, the other side coming from the CJ have shown and proven integrity to the process.
Okay.
And I appreciate that next time there's something like that, the other side, that's the presidency, also oppose integrity.
No, your assumption is fundamentally
I'm not assuming. I'm looking at the Constitution.
No,
it's not an assumption.
Wait,
it's a constitutional basis. So please, don't use assumption. Let me give you the
listen to me. Listen to me.
No.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that
your
assumption.
So we have established.
Assumption the constitutional.
Hold on.
It's a constitutional.
No, hold on. We have established.
I'm not just presuming.
All three before you have established that it is supposed to be a private and confidential process. So that is not a matter in argument.
Yeah, so what happened?
The question you have done, what you have done now, is a presumption or an allegation which now has to be interrogated. That has nothing to do with the provision of the Constitution.
Say no.
So say what you want to say.
What I'm saying is that
I say no.
She's assuming
no to the presumption and absolutely no to the
then
presumption.
You should open up your mind to what.
No, I'm using a constitutional basis.
I have a constitution.
Where did the petition go to? Where was it submitted?
Is the president who wrote the petition?
So where did the petition go
who wrote the petition?
So you believe that you can look at the leakage? So wait. So are you saying that the leakage came from the people who wrote it?
Open your mind.
I'm also asking.
First of all,
is that what you're assuming?
The petition was written by somebody.
Are you also assuming?
That's number one. Number two, the petition was forwarded to the Chief Justice. So the Chief Justice has the petition. What gives you the confidence to say that the leakage could not have come from this document sent to the Chief Justice? What gives you that?
So what are you saying?
What gives you that confidence?
So what are you saying?
Be specific. How do you know that it was not a Chief Justice?
I have zoomed in on what I am saying. So what are you saying? So tell us what you are saying. What are you suggesting?
So I'm asking you a question.
The leakage could come from the people who wrote the petition.
The presidency or the Chief Justice.
The presidency or the Chief Justice. That's what I'm telling you.
Do you agree? Do you agree that's a fair way to?
Suggestion. I have also made my suggestion. But
no, yours is not a suggestion. Yours is an allegation.
You said
integrity my 146.
No, it has nothing to do with the Constitution. It's an allegation.
I'm not in a court of law for you to judge me. I'm telling you that this is the basis
we all
of my
agree.
argument.
We all agree.
He also has his basis of his argument.
No, nobody disputes. Nobody disputes.
Exactly, but there's
nobody
one
disputes.
I want to emphasize.
If I may be heard, nobody disputes that the process has to be confidential. And I've actually gone ahead to say that the Supreme Court says if you leak it, there can be consequences for leaking it. So all the members on this panel agree that it has to be confidential. You are the one who has said with emphasis that the petition that has been leaked was leaked from the presidency. So that is an allegation.
Well, I'm saying that if you look at Article 146.
It has nothing to do with the article.
No. Let me also learn versus clause 6.
You don't need the article to back up your allegation.
Okay? The probability of it coming from the presidency exists. There's a probability from it coming from the presidency.
Where is that?
Now,
where's the probability? Where is the probability?
Why do I have to repeat myself?
You cannot use the Constitution to back your claim.
Oh, please, then what do we use? Fantasy. The Honorable has also looked at the process and said the probability could be 3.
Okay.
I am using 1 and he's using 3.
Okay.
That could come from the office of the president or the, what do you call it? The petitioners themselves or the office.
You
of the
did not
Chief
say
Justice.
it could come. You said it
I
came
said
from
I
the
have
presidency.
used that probability.
Now you change your original position.
No, I'm why are you trying to twist my mouth?
No.
Now,
wait.
I'm going on. I'm moving on.
I have to moderate this show. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Did you say it could come from the presidency or it came from the presidency?
I used the word probability.
Probability. So you are not making an exact allegation that the presidency leaked it.
What does probability mean?
I'm asking you a question. If you answer
Why do I have to repeat myself?
You said that from the CJ's place. It is important. It's important. It is important. Please, and let me moderate this show. You said that from the end of the CJ, there's integrity. From the end of the presidency, there's no integrity. Are you changing that position?
I'm telling you that I'm still sticking to what I'm saying. That based on Article 146, Clause 6. I said the probability comes from the presidency. He says the probability could be 3. I'm saying that, well, he has brought in the 3, and so he has zoomed in on the one that I had, that there could be a probability, right? Probability that the leakage comes from the presidency. So he has more or less confirmed it.
Okay.
But let me land. But in this case, the Chief Justice has shown integrity by not putting it in the public domain, that this is my version of my response to these petitions. So I humbly ask the public, and also add education to the public, that please, when we hear one side on social media, let's wait for the other side. It happens in all legal situations. Whenever you file something against somebody in court, they don't rush to listen.
So let's do this. You actually truncated. You truncated Bobby.
Now I also
wait. You actually truncated. So
she just took it off. Anyway,
that's okay. Sometimes it happens.
Yes, I was. Yes.
And I wanted to add.
Thank you. I will just again, for me, to the legislative reforms going forward. The constitution of the 5-member committee said 2 of them should be Supreme Court judges. Now, my practical challenge in this instance is that, and this is not definitive, just for the purposes of thoughts and discussions, if the 2 members of the Supreme Court, or the 2 justices of the Supreme Court, become members of this committee, and in the event that the committee at the end of their work decide that the Chief Justice is culpable in the petition and recommend that the Chief Justice should be removed. Sometimes I've been thinking, can any of these 2 members of the committee be candidates for the appointment of the Chief Justice?
Of course, why not?
Will it not suggest, like I'm saying, legislative reform? Will it not suggest? Yes. If any of them ends up being appointed the Chief Justice, will it not suggest that all along there were biases through the process?
Bobby, just
let's hear Frank. Let's hear Frank. Yes.
We are all sitting here talking about integrity.
Yeah.
And integrity got my lady friend.
You guys are supposed to be brief because Gloria is now going to have a substantive, chance.
Bobby, don't let us bring the integrity of our justices of the Supreme Court into dispute.
No.
Excuse me. What the inference you are making from this line of argument is that if there should be a determination that the Chief Justice ought or should be removed after the constitution of the 5-member, whatever, the 2 justices of the Supreme Court, who invariably have no choice than to sit on it because that is what the Constitution says. Is it to suggest that they will not have acted with utmost integrity and fidelity?
No, I am saying this I'm suggesting legislative reform.
Because you see...
That is why I was making the point. I'm saying that legislative reform...
Your point is let him finish it up.
If we are not guided by learners of the law and masters of the law, the whole process will be mutilated. Because the other 3 persons who are coming onto that committee are non-lawyers, not members of the Council of State, and they are not MPs. So this is going to come from the generality of the public. Anybody else can be appointed. Okay. But we need guidance. So, of course, it's a sticky situation. But where you have been called upon to perform a duty, we will suggest and think that there will be integrity and fidelity to the process.
I think the point I was making is that...
Hold on a second.
I think that I support what he has said in the framework of a larger constitutional or legislative reform.
Yes,
reform. Look, if we are going to safeguard the integrity of the process, it should be said that the 2 Supreme Court judges who be appointed onto the committee must not qualify to be Chief Justice.
That is reform. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that
that's what he says. So that it doesn't create the impression.
Frank is suggesting to you that implicitly you are suggesting that judges can see facts
and then skew them,
which exonerate and still say these are not exculpating, facts.
I don't think it's fair.
They may even force, a guilty verdict when there is no a guilty verdict.
No. What he's saying.
No, but how can you say because they have sat on the committee, they should be excluded from being appointed as Chief Justice?
I think that is the opportunity.
No, that is discriminatory.
No, that's the opportunity cost of sitting on the committee.
Again, all that I'm saying is for legislative reform.
It is like
going forward.
It is like you.
All that I'm saying
is maybe those two persons should not come from the Supreme Court.
Perhaps that is what I'm saying. The committee, the constitution of the committee may even be retired Supreme Court judges.
Okay.
Maybe. That is what I'm saying. So I'm talking about reform.
Thank you. Please land.
Maybe retired Supreme Court judges.
I need you to complete your submission.
Okay, so I'm going to complete it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. No, but I didn't finish and you jumped on it. Yes, to take away the perceived.
I just suggested that to you.
Yes. The last,
or even retired Chief Justice.
No. I'm saying,
or even retired Chief Justice.
Perhaps. The last reform that I think may have to look at going forward is the suspension and the revocation. Because we know, and sometimes I think we've discussed it here, that suspension in itself is a disciplinary measure, for lack of a better word. So it is not as if it is, I have not finished my investigations, but I have suspended you. Let me finish my investigations, then I can revoke the suspension. I think that provision may also have to be looked at. Because if you say for example, you are suspending the Chief Justice, that constitutional provision does not make any room for appeal.
No.
It does not. And the Supreme Court have said that appeal is not as of right. So unless it says that you have a right of appeal, you cannot. So what it means is that the final decision, which is not only an administrative decision to be taken by the President in consultation with the Council of State, it also becomes a judicial decision. Why? Because it affects the rights of a constitutionally appointed person.
But the absence of an appeal does not foreclose an action by someone who is aggrieved by the findings of the committee.
No, but at that time that they are suspending, the committee has not finished.
I'm not talking about that. When they are finished.
Yes, of course. When they are finished,
the product.
You
can question it in a court of law.
If you say that due process was not followed, but even with that, I don't know if you can question the conclusion. Again, because of the strict interpretation of the right of appeals by the Supreme Court, that if there is a specific procedure and it doesn't state that you have a right of appeal, you can appeal within so and so. You do not.
No, I'm saying you can take your mind a bit away from appeal.
And then challenge it in terms of, let's see. So I think, yes, it may. So after this, if this does settle, I think that the Constitutional Review Committee should have a thorough look at that Article 146 to foster the integrity of the process.
Thank you.
Yes. As we are all thinking aloud, suspension, does it not align with interdiction?
Actually, there is a case law which we discussed on this show that it is actually a result of a concluded process. It's loosely referred to as step aside and let me investigate.
Yes.
But once you use the word suspension, it is a punishment. I'm using punishment loosely.
Okay. So it's just nomenclature. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. I had the opportunity to appear before the Supreme Court, and I was saying that there was a need for rules to guide this process. They shut me down. And I told them that it might come to hurt them because they are endangered, because the process is subject to abuse. They said, well, they could protect themselves. That's fine. Yes, Gloria.
Yes. I will say humbly that we are all jumping the gun, okay? Because Ghana, we are now in a constitutional liberal democracy. If I just say constitutional, I'm limiting it because constitutional, there was once a time that we had a one-party constitution in this country, right? That was in 64. And, PDA and all those Preventive Detention Acts and all those non-liberal forms of dictatorship. But now we have a constitutional liberal democracy, which is bordering on with the principles of human rights, the right to be heard, the right to freedom and all that. We have all these freedoms guaranteed and enshrined in our constitution. Now, based on our constitutional liberal democracy, I'll say that we are akin to more of the presidential system of government as practiced in the US than the parliamentary, which is practiced in the UK. Now, in the US Constitution, yes, a Chief Justice of the US, in theory, can be removed, but only through the impeachment process, okay, as Honorable said. First, there's impeachment by the House of Representatives. By a simple majority vote is needed for that. And then there's a trial in the Senate. And after the impeachment, the Senate holds a trial. A 2/3 majority is required to convict and remove the Chief Justice. But the process is very, 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 very rare. In fact, only one Supreme Court Justice, Samuel Chase, in 1804, has ever been impeached. And he was even acquitted when he went to the trial in the Senate. Why? Because the constitutional liberal democracy realizes the importance of the three arms of government. In Ghana, our constitution also recognizes the importance of the three arms of government. However, there are separate provisions for parliament, which is basically more partisan, okay? And then there are similar provisions for the Chief Justice when it comes to grounds of removal, and then the president. The president cannot be removed because we voted him into office saying he or she has a term of 4. I always say he or she has a term of 4 years. Then it comes back to the electorate. The Chief Justice also has a term of office till age 70. He or she, as has been proven.
The president can be impeached.
In theory, we have all the grounds here. Article 69. In theory, we have all the grounds for the Chief Justice. Article 146. But in practice, it's never done. Never, ever done. Because if we do that, then we are just shredding the foundation of our democracy into pieces. Look, in Ghana, they said the president can be impeached. These are the grounds. If he or she violates the oath of office, including doing something inimical to our economy. And that one, then we can preach the president any time, especially after the budget reading. Then if the proven misconduct, so incompetence, proven misconduct, and then if the person is incapacitated in mind or body. We had a president who died on the job. Nobody ever went to parliament to say that he's he should be impeached because he's incapacitated in body and mind. The US had someone who was believed to have fainted on 1 or 2 occasions, but nobody said that he should be impeached. And in the long run, when he had the opportunity and the constitutional right to go in for a second term, he said, no, I'm not going any longer. Why? Because at the end of the day, the people just want a democracy.
His party prevailed on him not to go.
Well, yes, and then the people just want democracy to prevail. Okay? In Ghana, we had a similar situation. But our constitutional liberal democracy is so fragile, it's so young, that we did not even dream of asking for a president to step down for incompetence or misconduct or infirmity of body and mind.
In fact, if they breach or disobey the orders of the Supreme Court, they can also be impeached.
There are all these, and then to test my parliamentary, whatever. I mean, but the grounds, we don't even go there. So there's Chief Justice. Why are we doing that? We've had all these Chief Justices who have transcended changes in governments. We've had, even when we had the military juntas, the Chief Justices stayed on, right? They didn't touch apart from the judges who were eliminated. It's a bad history. I don't want to talk about it. I mean, that was something that we don't even want to remember in our history, unfortunately. But all the justices continued. All the courts were in operation, even though the Constitution was abrogated. Political parties were banned. They were what?
Proscribed.
There was a ban on political activity and all that. Even the military juntas respected our judiciary. So please, let's not even jump the gun and go on and say proving misconduct. Proving misconduct by who? We've heard petitions which have been leaked in the media, but we have not heard the other side. The other side.
Okay, so for the second time you say jumping the gun.
Then
I don't understand.
Yes, then I also
I want to ask a question.
Oh, I'm just saying that we are talking about theory. We are, instead of the practice, we are just going on and on.
You just
that's what I meant by jumping the gun.
By the point you are making, you're saying that the provisions, Article 146
and 69 are similar.
You're saying
grounds for removal.
Okay, if I could ask the question. You are saying Article 146 should not exist?
Oh, no. Let me clarify. Article 69 concerning the grounds for removal of the president exists in theory, but in practice is never used. Likewise, Article 146 for removal of the Chief Justice exists in theory, but in practice is never used, because at the end of the day, we are looking at the volatility of our constitutional liberal democracy. That's all I'm saying.
So if a Chief Justice does grave wrong, we should... No. I'm saying, you say the provision exists. It is intended to hold the office holder accountable. No public office holder is unaccountable, correct? The only way you can hold, perhaps, the Chief Justice accountable or a judge accountable is through this process, right?
You know what? I always liken the Chief Justice to the presidency, because it's, the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, and their heads, symbolizes the democracy. That's why on 7th January, when there's no president, briefly, for those hours when we did not have a president in office, a vice president or a speaker of parliament, briefly was the Chief Justice, the fourth, who is the the symbol.
The president is elected. The Chief Justice is not elected.
Who is the symbol?
The president has powers. The Chief Justice has powers not close to that. The judges have a protection in Article 127, where the work they do, they are not liable to be sued or an action to be taken against them for an act or an omission by them in the exercise of their judicial power. So people will say, this is the only way you can exact accountability.
I will say that in practice, the symbols of our democracy are upheld in some form of aura and sanctity. And I'm still going on that. On 7th January, the fourth estate, that's the Chief Justice, was the one. There was no power vacuum. She was the one who was in charge of the power in this country, and she had to swear in the speaker first, and then the president and the vice. And even when you looked at the seating, the president and vice were, the seating was different until she swore them into office. No, all these things are symbols that are sacrosanct to
Some of my viewers say you are jumping the gun. You're not sticking to the discussion present.
No, I'm explaining. It's just that you keep interrupting.
No, I'm not interrupting. I'm asking questions.
So I haven't finished. So, I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but I hope they are flowing with me. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. So we are looking at the theory and we are looking at the practice of democracy.
We have an issue at hand. If I can ask a question and expect that you will answer the question.
But I haven't landed anyway. I have one more thing to say. Fortunately, I have the chance.
Okay. My question is, we're discussing a particular issue now. That issue is that the minority or the NPP is saying that the judges, lawyers, civil society, which you will qualify to belong to, should stand up against the attempt to remove the Chief Justice. That's what we are addressing now.
But I was listening to on my way here, I was listening to the, what's it called? The press conference. And I heard Honorable Afenyo Markin mention that, right? So he represents the NPP.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. I will humbly ask that he stays out of this, because with all these issues, there's also the issue of when there was a parliamentary standoff and people are saying that there was a problem with the decisions regarding the parliamentary stand-up. It is such a sore point amongst a lot of the populace. So let me humbly ask that he shouldn't he should not come in. He should just humbly stay away. And then let me also say that if he said it, well, I don't know if he was speaking for himself or for the whole new.
It was a party. It was a party's conference.
Well, I don't want to go into that. All I want to say is that let him stand up a bit, because there are all these issues from the stand-up that happened in Parliament before the election.
Yeah, but your substantive point is that the Chief Justice should not be taken through this process.
That's my point. The Chief Justice and the President are not taken through this process. There's theory and there's practice. In practice, they are not. And then when you look at the issue of even who can be a Chief Justice, a person of high moral standing and experience and expertise, having been with the judiciary, and even with our Chief Justice also having been with the bar. These are all, attributes that we can be proud of, okay? And then, not only that, I know there's been a case by, I think it was the AG versus Aban, Justice Aban JSC, as he then was. And something to do with the bar protesting that they didn't want him. But the issue of how a Chief Justice is appointed and confirmed came into being. And we know that our Chief Justices have been, as well as our presidents, have always had some authority emanating from the Constitution. So in practice, let's not even tamper with our fragile democracy by even thinking of removing a Chief Justice on petitions that have been leaked to the public, but on the integrity of her responses that are still held in
if
confidence.
A Chief Justice, on the three grounds, if a Justice of the court normally misbehaves or is said to be if a Justice of the Superior Court misbehaves or is said to have been incompetent or is said to be incapacitated, it's okay to go through this process to remove them.
I'm not talking of that. We've had some.
No, it's a question I'm asking you.
Yes,
it's okay to use this process to remove them.
I'm telling you that in practice, we've had some processes in this country. So I don't want to go there. I remember when the Anas Amir.
I need to moderate this for our audiences.
I'm answering your question.
You are not answering it.
I am. We all have a style of answering our question.
No, you're just.
I'm telling you that. In answer to your question, there has been precedents about judges of the Superior Court of Judicature, I think the High Court, if I remember, and some lower courts, especially when it came to that Anas Arim case, okay? So I will say that it has happened before, but with the Chief Justice. Okay, with the Chief Justice.
It's okay to let the judges. It's okay to let the judges of the Superior Court go through the process, but the CJ should not go through it.
We have not had the justice, the CJ and the Supreme Court justice. We have not had justices of the Supreme. You know, there's a difference between the Superior Court.
So if a justice of the Supreme Court misconducts themselves, they are found to be incompetent or they are incapacitated, how should they be removed?
Where is the precedence?
I'm asking what should happen if you don't want this provision. No, you don't want this provision to be there.
Is there a precedence? Has there been a precedence? Has it happened before? Even in the US, there was this justice who was involved, was it Clarence? I don't want to mention names. Who was involved with something about getting favors from, can you help me? I don't want to mention the name. They went in, and what came out of it?
Okay, I think you are understood. Thank you very much. I will. You said you are left with 1 point.
Yes, the last point.
You can deliver that in a minute.
The agenda. What is the agenda? Why this business of Chief Justice removal, Chief Justice removal? I'm wondering, is it because of Article 142 of the Constitution? Do we want to go back to a regional or public tribunal kangaroo court system? What is it? Because when you look at 1421, it says there shall be established in each region of Ghana such regional tribunals that the Chief Justice may determine. Do we want to bring the tribunals back? Do we want a Chief Justice who is pliable to allow tribunals to come in so that the people can always show their faces in our houses to search our houses? Because I heard you talking of how someone can just show their face in your house to search your house. Oh, it's conjecture. Okay, then I apologize. I thought I heard wrong. Then maybe I heard wrongly. But I'm told it's conjecture, so I'll hold my words,
your horses.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't say someone can just show up in your house.
In respect to the ordinary.
Let me state that clearly. I said that politicians and some commentators who are ignorant of the law or are deliberately misleading the public by saying police cannot arrest or search without a warrant.
Yeah.
And I was pointing to the various provisions of the law to educate the public that the police can arrest without a warrant, the police can search without a warrant, officers of law enforcement who also have powers of police can arrest, can search without a warrant under certain circumstances. And nobody should ever say that if you come to my house without a warrant, I will shoot and kill you. The only time you can use shooting to kill somebody as a defense will be when there is a question of murder.
Well, I will humbly say, that under Article 18 of our constitutional liberal, our constitution, which brings in these liberal democratic principles. Article 18 says it provides for protection of privacy of home and other property. Every person has the right to own property alone or in association. No person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of his home or property or whatever, except in accordance with law as may be necessary.
Thank you. So you have answered the question.
I will know. So I'll humbly say that the security services and the investigative bodies should also put premium on the practice of protecting the privacy of our homes and properties, so that if you need to go to a person's home, please go through due process. Don't just say that your face alone can be a warrant to come and search a home. Please.
If somebody is committing a crime, if somebody is committing a crime, and the police or any officer sees them, they are entitled by law to arrest them.
That is totally
different. To search them. Let's not miseducate the public.
No. I won't call that miseducation.
We take a break here.
Let's abide by our constitution.
I'm sorry. We take a break.
I disagree.
This is not a subject for discussion.
So please.
Number 1 from here, 2 and 3 from here, 5 and 6 from here, for now. Yay. Now I have the number 7, 8, and the number 9.
You need number 10.
Please, I can't eat anymore.
I mean, number 10, liver salt.
The effective liver salt for the relief of stomach upset, heartburn, hyperacidity, and indigestion.
Would you like to try number 11?
What?
Number 10 liver salt. Refreshing relief fast. Manufactured and distributed by Ernest Chemists Limited. This advert is FDA approved.
There's no feeling quite like wanting something. You see it when you close your eyes. You feel it against the hairs on your skin. You smell it mingled with the wind. You know it's yours, but you just can't seem to reach it. Until you can. Whatever the dream, we can make it happen. So get up, get started, and make me do up. For decades, we have helped businesses connect with their trade partners all over the globe. From Ghana to Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo, Senegal, China, Morocco, France, Netherlands, and many other countries. We have made it possible to bring Ghana to the world. We have brought small and medium businesses closer to their customers across the regions in Ghana with our SME support facilities. We have brought relief and smiles to the faces of families with our employee personal loans. With our cutting-edge technology and digital support, we take the burden of complex thinking off you, making life simple. That is who we are, as close as a partner. Bank of Africa. We are indeed the African bank with the global reach.
Hello, esteemed CEOs. Join us for the highly anticipated 9th Ghana CEO Summit and Expo on 26th May 2025 at Kempinski Hotel, Gold Coast, Accra from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This biggest business leadership conference offers actionable insight and strategic opportunities for topmost CEOs and policymakers. This year's theme, leading Ghana's economic reset, transforming business and governance for a sustainable futuristic economy, will focus on transformational leadership to reset Ghana's economy through sustainability, digital innovation, and governance reforms. Be inspired by the special guest of honor, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. Key sessions include CEO presentations, masterclasses, keynote plenaries, the CEO Excellence Awards, and more. Register today at GhanaCEOSummit.com to secure your spot. For inquiries and sponsorship, contact 0546 391 970 or email info@GhanaCEOSummit.com. Powered by Ghana CEO Network in partnership with Deloitte, PwC, GIPC, SIGA, and Multimedia Group. Ghana CEO Summit. Be inspired.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And I'm going to my guests for a minute each of concluding remarks or reactions that they intended to do. And then we will end the discussion on this particular topic and move to the next one. Okay, so I'll start right from here. Yes.
Yes, Samson, I don't think that Inusa has been fair. MPP as a political party. I don't think Inusa has been fair. Because if he's saying that we have politicized the issue, I totally disagree with him. Because the loud noises started coming from NDC political actors. You know, Fuzeni, you know, between the two of us, there are no holes barred. We say it as it is. Listen, your people started the commentary. Your people largely started the commentary. Even before this process started, it was all over the place that they were going to remove the Chief Justice. So, you see, let's just put the issues in context. And what did Afenyo say? If you listen carefully to Afenyo, Afenyo was making a national appeal that we should safeguard the office of the Chief Justice in much the same way that Gloria has said, but hers is more active because of where we know she's coming from. But Afenyo Markin did not say anything which is distinctively different from what we are all saying here. If he calls on the GBA, he calls on the judges, he calls on chiefs that we should protect the office of the CJ. That is a good call. Well, you might not like Afenyo Markin for other reasons, but on this occasion alone, I don't think that he said anything untoward. And that was the platform for him to have said it, because that was a national exercise the MPP had undertaken, and he was making an address. Of course, this issue of the Chief Justice, removal from office and all that, they have underpinnings, and you know, Inusa. So don't say that we have people, very senior members of your party who should not otherwise be here saying anything. They are saying all kinds of things, all manner of things. But you don't draw conclusions from them. Look here. Let me just attempt I won't say what I wanted to say. But you see,
don't say.
Okay. If we are going to
scratch, not going to say, going to say what you wanted to say. So stop here.
Yes, c'est où fi samay. C'est où fi efueni soa. Samay. So let us be cautious in some of the things we say concerning this matter. I would rather wish all the political actors cease fire.
Okay.
Let the process roll if it has.
Thank you. Thank you, Inusa. Yes, Inusa.
So that's a fair call. And in commenting, you were worried about busybodies.
Yes.
So when you listen to others on the political plane or scene, commenting, calling for the removal of Chief Justice, that does not translate into a petition.
No.
But when you hear the minority leader speaking about the Chief Justice and calling on people to rise, mind you, in the Article 78(1) establishes this fusion between the presidential and parliamentary. And in the parliamentary system of government, Afanya Makan would have been leader of the opposition.
Yeah, which he is now.
Good. And so when the leader of the opposition takes the battle and fights it in the media, then what do you expect?
He has not taken any battle.
So the second thing is that
he's not taking any battle.
With the greatest difference to Madam Gloria, this leakage of the petition, I've been wondering, and I have never admitted that what is in the public domain is the petition that has been sent to the president. I cannot admit it.
First, have you seen it in the public domain?
I've seen some
I don't subscribe to that.
In the public domain?
In the public domain.
Okay.
I don't subscribe to that.
I've seen some aspects.
I thought that it was within some journalists.
I've seen it.
Okay.
I've seen it. So I said, no, it cannot be because of the fidelity of the process. But the first people who drew attention to some portions of the petition were the minority. When they held the press conference.
No,
now,
but Inusa, don't self-contradict yourself.
I need to move.
Are you saying that? Yeah. Are you saying that those portions are authentic?
But that's what they. So it could not be the president who leaked that aspects of the minority press conference to the minority.
These are
I don't think so.
Noise.
Or you are suggesting that the president leaked it to the minority?
Have you?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Gloria, it's your turn. Yeah.
I'll just say that one of the longest democracies have in God we trust on their currency, right?
Yes.
We also have God bless our homeland Ghana. To make our nation
great and
strong. So please, I'm humbly appealing to, especially the youth, that look at the Constitution in theory and practice, protect our fragile Constitution, and then I'm also appealing to the presidency and all the powers that be. Let's protect our fragile Constitution, and let's ensure that the Chief Justice, in a similar manner as the President, are not removed in practice. Please, let's avoid any sinister agenda and let's allow the naysayers, their voices to be drowned so that those who are for democracy and constitutional democracy, our voices prevail across party lines.
Okay, thank you. Bobby, but Inusa, I asked you a question. Have you seen excerpts of a purported Auditor General's report being circulated, or you have seen the petition?
Oh, that's a great one. The purported Auditor General's report.
Same.
Correct.
Same.
That's what I've seen.
A petition.
I can't see the petition.
No, you said you have seen it.
No, as aspects of.
You said you have seen a petition. Aspects of the petition.
No, I asked you. You see, there's in circulation.
That's a good one.
There's in circulation a purported Auditor General's report.
So that is why I said,
I'm saying my line. But my line is that.
Thank you. I just needed to confirm that with you because.
You're right.
Because I know as a matter of fact that the leakage of the petition is with a certain group of journalists.
Yes.
And not even common
public domain.
So kind of ordinary journalists.
Yes,
I say all kinds of things.
I almost asked you that the way you are emphasizing it, I want to assume that you belong to that cabal. have to answer.
So the class, that's not the general. The class of journalists.
Your facial expression is giving you away something. Your facial expression is
know what
giving
is
you
out
haven't
and
said
what is not
anything.
out.
You can't say
It means
anything.
that he knows what is on. But also, my last comment on this would be that, in dispute resolution, there's a phrase we say, separate the people from the problem. That whatever decision comes out of this process, it should not be taken, or whatever is done or not done, should not neither be done or done because of the personality. As we've all said, the judiciary is one of our foremost institutions that needs protection. And so we should address whatever issues that allegedly exist and dispassionately deal with it with focus on what we are leaving behind in respect of the institution.
Thank you. And the politicians should hands off. Like
Completely.
all of you have said.
Completely.
It is said that there are some institutions that guide our moral fiber.
Right.
And I'll attribute this to Dennis Ejejumo. We had that discussion. He said the chieftaincy institution, the executive, the legislature, the clergy and the imam, and then the judiciary. In his opinion, the chieftaincy has almost been bastardized. The executive and the legislature is a goner. It's gone. In his opinion, the clergy and the imam are on shaky grounds. The moment we start attacking the judiciary, then there is nothing that will maintain our social fiber.
Okay. Thank you. So, politicians, we beg you. Before Charlotte Osei and her deputies will be removed, it was all over. We'll remove them. And then it happened.
And I spoke against it.
And it happened.
I spoke against
Same
it.
thing is repeating itself. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, those who have been listening to and watching Inus Afuseni, he is former MP, Tamale Central, former ranking member, Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Parliament. He's been a minister in 2 different or 3 different portfolios. Frank Davis is chairman, Constitutional and Legal Committee of the New Patriotic Party. He's a former president of the bar for the Greater Accra. Gloria OFORI-ATTA is managing lawyer at GOB Law Consult and adjunct lecturer at GIMPA and the University of Ghana School of Law. And many of you associated with FIDA, Women's Rights.
President of FIDA.
Thank you.
Really?
Yes.
Bobby Banson is in private practice. He's also a lecturer at the Ghana School of Law. And I'll share just a few of your messages as we get ready to listen to the president at Kwawu very briefly. And because of that, as I said, the show's duration has been extended to 12:30. Abdullahi Pagla Issa says the removal of Chief Justice Stokonu was a campaign promise by John Mahama during his engagement sessions with some lawyers. I wonder why we are surprised when Justice Stokonu is removed. Every other CJ appointed will be coterminous with the appointors. August says it's always funny when the NPP try to behave like they are for the law. They have abused and desecrated the judiciary to the point where every decision is clouded with conspiracy. That is not a judiciary that should be left alone. Musa Abatua says, by Afenyo Markin's logic, even after a prima facie case is established, the president should turn a blind eye simply because the person involved is a CJ. In 2018, when Charlotte Osei and others were being removed, he boldly told her and her deputies to go to court if you are unhappy. Honorable S.B. Bamta Esquire says that the call for judges, the GBA, etc., to stand up against the removal of the CJ will amount to stampeding the legitimate constitutional process that the president has been mandated to carry out. The committee can exonerate the CJ if the petitions have no merit. Yeah. Thank you very much for all of those statements. Samuel Brian Boabing says that the Chief Justice's removal is purely political and nothing will deter President Mahama and his enablers. This isn't about any alleged wrongdoing. It's simply because they dislike her. What's more troubling is that the individuals who once claimed to be voices of conscience and reason and who were vocal just 5 months ago have now fallen silent amidst the aggressive attempts to remove the CJ. Samuel Brian Boabing sends in that one. Okay, thank you very much for all of your comments. Kwame Sapong and the rest of you, I have seen your comments, but unfortunately, I'm unable to share those comments. We will take yet another break. We'll be right back.
Tank, your size in Nabi, copying 35,000 liters. West Africa had here, Obiani or tanker see a chain yen. Ya yes in test tank, I'm on a wired thing. And see about to say, Chao, and so still a wedjuma. Oh, weather. Who bet me a check? Hello, okay. Ya bayamo, I won't ya shit. Ghana, if you be a water tank and a whole thing, auto synthesis tanker. You more 7 years warranty. Synthesis tank. You will lay a fitabi room. A Bawku room by me with the hokroji. And your papa change your canina. Say, dear, what's the dia yen to my hobby? And one is synthesis septic tank. Septic tanky, your size BRB. Synthesis. Innovative, reliable, durable. Synthesis tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
A tank is not a tank until it's syntax tank.
Let's talk hemorrhoids. Hemorrhoids are normal structures located in the anus of all mammals.
But it is only man who suffers hemorrhoidal disease because of the erect closer we have assumed and the squatting that we do to empty our bowel. Hemorrhoids consist of a special type of blood vessels which fill with blood when we are moving our bowel and help to cushion the anus against the force of transmitting the stool. Afterwards, they empty their blood, collapse, help seal the anus to maintain continence. Over time, these vessels lose the elasticity of their walls, become dilated, permanently filled with blood, leading to congestion of the hemorrhoids. The symptoms of hemorrhoids are bleeding and prolapse of the hemorrhoids when passing stool, itching and feeling of warmth in the anus and anal discharge. Laser, ligature, and longo are the modern, minimally invasive, most effective, and painless methods of treating hemorrhoids today.
Winterba Hospital, First Ghana Colorectal Center, in to serve a peculiar health need.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, 1 bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Get ready for MTN Stands in Worship 2025. It's bigger and better this year. You don't want to miss great performances from great artists like Nasi, Empress Gifty, Tego Sisters, Moses Oke, Hannah Mafo, Bethel Revival Choir, MTN Viva Voices, and a host of other spirit-filled artists. Join us on Easter Sunday, the 20th of April at the Grand Arena at 6 p.m. for an unforgettable night of heavenly worship. Gospel legends and fresh voices will take you on a musical journey through the decades, blending classic hits with modern favorites. Dress up and show up in your all-white attire and be prepared for a heavenly night. Let's come together to celebrate God's goodness at MTN Stands in Worship 2025. It will be a heaven on earth experience. This event is strictly by invitation.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's the most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. So beyond talking about the attempted removal of the Chief Justice or the process in motion, we also are looking at the questioning of the NPP's, failure at the elections and the committee, Professor Okwe committee that was, tasked to investigate the matters and bring some recommendations. It has submitted its report. And in addition to that, we are told that a 9-member committee has been set up to review the Constitution to put the MPP in a better shape to winning the elections in 2028. Thankfully, the man who will spearhead affairs as far as the revision of the Constitution is concerned is here with us, Frank Davis. Thank you very much once again. So help us understand. Now there's blame game going all over the place. Everybody, some people in the MPP are speaking. Some say we should go for Ken. Some say Bawumia was just not, working. There was no magic to him. Let's jettison him. Some are insisting, well, Akufo-Addo went 3 times. Why do you want to do that to Bawumia? And so on and so forth. Okay, I understand that we have to go to Kwehu right now. And for the next 20 minutes, we'll be in Kwehu or less. And then when we return, the program is extended to 12:30 to close. So let's go to Kwehu for the business summit, where the minority leader just spoke, the majority leader also just spoke, and the president is now to speak.
Yeah, as part of the campaign for the 2024 elections, we came to attend the OFORI-ATTA celebrations. And while we were planning the trip, my friend and co-conspirator, the Honorable Julius Deborah, formulated an idea that as part of attending the celebrations, we should organize a forum so that I could use it as a platform to explain what my economic policies were going to be and how they were going to assist business people to be able to transform their businesses and grow their businesses. And so we contacted a few business people, and they thought it was a brilliant idea. And so that is how the idea of the Kwehu Business Forum was born. But at that forum, I made a pledge that if God's favor shined on me and I became president, I will come back the next year and we'll organize the forum again, bigger and better. And that when I was coming, I was going to bring my relevant ministers, heads of institutions, banks, and everybody relevant for the growth of business. And so today, in fulfillment of that promise, I'm here with my key ministers, several heads of financial institutions, and relevant agencies that can assist the private sector not only to transform but to grow. And so for me, my happiness is that the OFORI-ATTA festivities is not only one for fun seekers. The perception that Ghanaians have about OFORI-ATTA is to come and have fun and enjoy ourselves. But from today, OFORI-ATTA is also about building businesses. It's about building the private sector. And let me say that while the forum is labeled the Kwehu Business Forum, it is just a testament of the acumen of Kwehu business people, but it is not only for Kwehu businessmen. It's open to all Ghanaian businessmen, foreigners, Ghanaians, anybody who wants to come and attend and network is invited to attend this forum. The world is changing and new opportunities are being thrown up. And we as a country must take advantage of those opportunities. From the era of the Cold War, we had the era of globalization. In all these stages, Africa continued to lose out. But I think that the opportunity is beginning to come for Africa because world geopolitics is changing. We all can take note of the trade wars that are taking place between the economically mighty countries. It is creating global shifts in terms of production, and this is the opportunity that Africa must take. And so let us shake ourselves out of the mindset that we are traders, because we can be manufacturers, we can be industrialists, we can be digital entrepreneurs, we can be agribusinessmen, we can be large-scale commercial farmers, we can be anything that we want. And so with the shift in the global geopolitics, opportunities, new opportunities are being created. And as long as the Trumpian things continue happening, it makes the world a bit more unpredictable. And the more unpredictable the world is, the more opportunity it creates for those who have been marginalized for a long time. I want to thank Nana Chairman for the comments he made about the Afram Plains. And I want to assure him that Afram Plains is in our sight in terms of its agricultural potential and agro-processing. We've labeled Afram Plains a special agro-processing zone, SAPZ. And in line with the same program that the African Development Bank is pursuing, we intend to achieve substantial funding from the African Development Bank for investment in the Afram Plains, both in terms of agriculture and agro-processing. But to be able to do that, we must first put in the infrastructure. And so under the big push, we have put the bridge at Echiamam from under the big push to construct the bridge so that we can take the ferry away. And then also we've targeted the main roads in the Afram Plains area to rehabilitate them so that it can ease doing business in the area. Let me thank both the majority and minority leader for attending. For me, it sends a signal that this is a non-partisan business forum, and that it is open to everybody, notwithstanding one's political affiliation. And my hope is that future presidents who succeed me will continue to adopt this as a forum that must continue, no matter which party is in power. But I'd like to make my last comment on the issue the minority leader raised. And it's not only him. There are several businessmen who have told me that one of the major hindrances they face in business is not even capital. It is getting trusted people to work with. If somebody comes to work for you, he thinks that your business is a platform for him also to build his business. And it's not only him who has had that experience. I've had it too. I bought a bus for a relative to run transport business so that he can look after the family at home and stop disturbing me on my small parliamentary salary. And they gave it to a driver who was a relative. Good driver though. The first thing he did was he went and put a carrier on the bus. And anytime you saw the bus had more load on top of it than in the bus. And so what happened? The axle broke down. And it was the most regrettable experience in my life. When the axle broke down, they came to me to buy a new axle. So the reason for buying the bus had been defeated. Anytime the bus broke down, they would come to me to come and repair it. And it was costing me more to repair the bus than if I had just been momoing the money to them. But you know what happened? This driver used to live in the family house. While he was driving the bus, he procured the land. He started to build a house. The house reached lintel level when the bus finally broke down. And by then I had had enough. So I refused to repair the bus and decided to dispose of it. And so I sold the bus. This was like several years, maybe years, more than 10 years ago. And since I sold the bus, where the building reached lintel level, it is still at lintel level even till today. And so what he says is very serious, getting trusted people to work with. And so we must look at that aspect of the restraints to industry. And I know that even some business people and industrialists are going out of, like I said, are going out of the country and bringing foreigners to come and manage their businesses. It's an indictment on our human resource. And it's something that we must begin to think about and find ways of creating a core of management that is dedicated to working to build a business. Because what they forget is as the business grows, you get better remunerated, you benefit more. But if you want to suck your pound of flesh out of the business and kill it and move on, then no industry is going to grow and survive. And so that is an issue that we need to take up so that we all can think how we can manage to create a core of Ghanaian business managers who are dedicated, who have integrity, and who will work to grow the businesses so that they survive and create more opportunities for our young people. And so those were the preliminary comments, but I have a speech here, so let me inflict it on you. I'm sorry. You have to stay a few more minutes and listen to this speech. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure for me to be here in Mpraeso in the heart of Kwahu, home to industrious and resilient people, and a place that has become a vital center for Ghana's entrepreneurial and investment dialogue. I thank the organizers of the Kwahu Business Forum for sustaining this important platform, which has quickly become a feature in our national economic conversation. This year's theme, the future of business, the role of the financial sector, could not be more relevant. The financial sector is the bloodstream of any economy. Without it, businesses cannot grow and jobs cannot be created, and innovation cannot thrive. Let me begin with the state of our economy. We are all aware of the challenges our country has faced in recent years: soaring inflation, a weakened cedi, rising debt levels, and a decline in investor confidence. These challenges have weighed heavily on businesses and households alike. But I'm confident, and I say this with sincerity, that we will turn the corner. There are early signs of macroeconomic stabilization. Inflation is gradually easing. The currency is stabilizing. And with disciplined management, we shall restore a measure of confidence in our economy. But ladies and gentlemen, recovery alone is not enough. We must now set our sights higher on transformation of the economy. We must build an economy that is resilient, inclusive, and productive. And this cannot be achieved without a financial sector that works not just for a few, but for every Ghanaian business, from the roadside vendor to the massive industrialist. Our vision for Ghana's future business landscape is bold and deliberate. We are pursuing a targeted program in restoring investor confidence by enhancing transparency, cutting bureaucratic red tape, and promoting a rules-based investment climate. We're prioritizing sectors that can absorb labor and grow our economy sustainably, like agro-processing, ICT, manufacturing, tourism, renewable energy, and the green economy. But our focus is not only on attracting foreign investment. We're equally committed to empowering Ghanaians to become owners and drivers of enterprise. And this is why this government will support the private sector not just with policy, but with decisive action. We will expand access to affordable financing through financial institutions like the commercial banks, the Ghana Development Bank, the Women's Development Bank, and partnership with other private financial institutions. We'll support small and medium enterprises with targeted financing, tax incentives, and technical support. We'll modernize infrastructure, including roads, logistics, and digital connectivity to create an environment where businesses can thrive. We'll reduce the cost of borrowing by reforming credit systems and supporting blended finance instruments. And we'll retool the financial sector to serve the real economy, not just government borrowing or speculative trading. We also will launch a national venture capital fund to support youth and women-led businesses and introduce regulatory reforms that encourage banks and financial institutions to lend to the productive sectors of the economy. And in all this, financial inclusion will be at the heart of this agenda. No economy can grow if its people remain excluded from the formal financial systems. We'll work with banks, fintechs, and mobile money operators to expand access to financial services, particularly in rural and underserved communities. Nana Chairman, distinguished guests, the future of business in Ghana must be digital, it must be green, and it must be inclusive. We're entering an era where digital infrastructure is as important as roads and other infrastructure. As part of our 24-hour economy strategy, we'll create the conditions through reliable electricity supply, logistics, and public safety for businesses to operate around the clock. This will boost productivity, create jobs, and expand opportunities across the country. But in trying to transform our country, an important ingredient is the requirement of skills. And that's why we're introducing a Jobs and Skills Compact, bringing together government, industry, and academia to align education and training with the needs of the changing job market. We'll provide incentives to companies that create sustainable, decent jobs and support youth entrepreneurship to unlock the creativity of our young people. Our vision is of a Ghana where no young person needs to leave their hometown in search of opportunities, where our communities will become hubs of innovation, enterprise, and decent work. To truly enable business growth, we must go beyond economic policy. It requires a firm commitment to rule of law, political stability, and respect for contracts and property rights. It also requires a responsive, corruption-free public service that sees the private sector not just as a source of revenue, but as a partner in development. And that is why forums like these are important. They allow us to listen, to engage, and to co-create policies that work for us. Your insights and innovations are critical to the national reset that we have embarked upon. Ladies and gentlemen, Nana Chairman, in conclusion, the future of Ghana will not be determined by government alone. It will be determined by our ability to build partnerships between the state and private sectors, between finance and innovation, and between leadership and the people. The Kwao Business Forum is more than just an event. It is a call to action. And so let us work together to build a Ghana that is competitive, productive, and inclusive, and a Ghana that creates opportunities for all. And so on this note, it's my honor and privilege to declare the 2025 Kwao Business Forum duly open. Thank you, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Thank you, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama. Kwao Business Forum is more than just...
Thank you very much. So the President just finished speaking at the Kwao Business Forum. And, sir, we understand that part of the Business Forum is to pitch pitch certain persons. I say Dunketia is already complaining that there is a lot of, jostling as to who will become the flag bearer, and that this is sort of setting the stage for Julius Debra.
Samson, there are a lot of conspiracy theories, but now our focus is on delivering on the mandate of John Dramani Mahama. You see,
no, but he has only one term, so you must start now. You can't run away from it.
Whoever is going to come after John Dramani Mahama will have to campaign on his record. If you don't help him to succeed, how do you campaign?
And you need to popularize a person. The NPP has popular people already ready.
And this is, if you are able to win the confidence of the people of this country that a continuous stay of NDC in office after John Dramani Mahama will inure to the general benefit of the people of this country. Doesn't matter who comes. Liman, the history of Liman and his ascension to the presidency should guide discussions.
Yeah, I hear. Okay. So yes, Frank Davis, we are back to the NPP's report and the need for constitution review. So everybody is blaming everybody except themselves. How are you resolving these issues?
Well, you just pointed out that the OK committee, thankfully, when we met at National Council on Wednesday, they submitted their report. The report is with the National Executive, and in fidelity to the work that they have done, there are no disclosures. At least as at this point, nobody has said that he has seen a leaked copy of the report.
Except me.
We intend to work strictly to the dictates of the report. I want to believe that it's an exhausting and all-encompassing exercise. Most of us were given the opportunity to appear before the committee in our personal capacities and also as head of directorates and as part of the campaign team for Bawumia election 2024. So, by and large, the composition of the committee gives us the hope and comfort that we should be able to resolve whatever has caused this colossal defeat of the party. It's quite an unfortunate incident of history, but we learn always from our past mistakes. And I always say that the MPP is much, much stronger in opposition than maybe when we are in political power. So let's see what comes out of it. And for those who are making all kinds of allegations, noises, name calling, and all that, I would urge everybody to be calm. This is Amakuba. We should keep cool heads because success has many fathers. Failure is always an orphan. So let us be guarded in the kinds of things we say. Let us be circumspect. Let us look at the issues critically and don't let us overburden issues. In any event, the General Secretary has issued a directive that henceforth, any leading member, communicator, office holder, whatever, founding member, leading member, senior member of the party, everybody should be dead quiet. We are going through a reformative exercise, and we should all look forward to the numerous suggestions and reforms that the generality of our party have presented to the Okwe Committee for us to see what we can do to make our party a better and a stronger one.
This non-disclosure thing, is it for now or you're only delaying the disclosure? You don't think so? Because eventually it will come out. You have millions of members across the country, and you will have to bring these to their,
something I have always said. It's something I say most often. I'm not a clairvoyant. I just say what it is.
You're a realist.
I'm just hoping that it won't leak. And I'm hopeful that it wouldn't leak.
That's not possible.
Well, let us hope that your possibility becomes an impossibility. So I sit in a very challenged position. You know that. I mean, as chairman of the committee which has been constituted to see to amending and reforming the party based upon the report by Professor Okoye, I think I'm in a very special position to keep my mouth shut. So I would urge that we all abide the directive of the General Secretary.
There are calls that those who are, pointing, accusing fingers at President Akufo-Addo and either Justin Kodua, some say this is an attempt to sacrifice him, he's done nothing wrong, and so on. There are suggestions that those persons should be subject to discipline.
Well, of course, the party has a disciplinary committee, and we have disciplinary proceedings that affect members who go against the dictates of the Constitution. Yes, in due course, in the very shortness of time, some of them will be hauled before the disciplinary committee to answer for what they shouldn't have done. So when we get to that bridge, obviously, we'll be crossed. I don't think it is just a scaling process that anybody who has said anything untoward in the near past would go off the hook. Those who are still making commentaries should be careful.
Is it possible to gag any member from campaigning for a candidate of their choice? You are in opposition and you are supposed to elect your flag bearer earlier than you would do when you are in power.
You see, Samson, the party has its own rules and regulations. There is a period for the lift and the opening of normal political work and normal political campaigning. If you want Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to still be the flag bearer, if it is your preferred choice that Kennedy Ajipon should be the flag bearer, if it's your wish that my venerable senior in school, Boachi Ijakun, should be the flag bearer, at least these are the three people who have shown, of course, and people are also rooting for Brianna Champon. Kwabena Ajipon is also lacing his boots. But please, be circumspect. You don't need to go and sit on radio and say that I am supporting Kennedy Ajipon before people will take you serious. I mean, there are ways and means of talking to party members. If there's not a lift on the race for the declaration or the nomination of a flag bearer, why do you jump the gun? We all know, I mean, for us as political actors, we all know where each other person belongs. Once in a while, people just move, okay, this time somebody is supported by Bawumia. The next time he says, okay, I've changed, I'm going to attack Kennedy Ajipon, or I'm going. It is normal political exercise. But for now, we've gone through an election. We have to determine what made us lose the election. Let us do that first. And then those, you see, I keep on saying that, you see, no matter whether you start campaigning for a potential flag bearer today, even if you start at dawn, the MPP delegates always decide on their leader. You can't change it. They always decide. The political season produces its leader. So this jumping over ourselves, it is not necessary. It is absolutely unnecessary. Let us do what is important. Let us lay the basics. Let us correct what went wrong. And then when there's a lift, we can all campaign.
So as far as the Constitution is concerned, what is it about the Constitution that was some stumbling block for which you need to tweak the Constitution?
Something you are a trained lawyer, and I can understand why you are doing that. Of course, examining me, you want me to tell you in a short while ago what I said.
I wouldn't say.
I'm an experienced lawyer, so. I mean, so that's my answer.
Okay. Well, when you start your work,
I'm sorry.
When you start your work, we'll get to know what things you are dealing with.
But I'm sorry if I've disappointed you something.
It's all right. Yes, sir.
You see, Mr. Frank Davis knows that long before the MPP lost the 2024 elections.
But I was really hopeful that I could trick him with that question.
Yeah, he wouldn't say it. So he's an experienced politician. Then he's a lawyer, fine lawyer. I mean, former president of the Ghana Bar Association. Trick him.
Okay.
Now, so long before 2024, we knew that the MPP was going to suffer an implosion. Just by the dynamism, the organization, and the egocentrism of the people in the party, we knew that this thing will come. And the arrogance of power, and Kufuor had reminded them that the arrogance of power could trick them. And indeed, that tricked them in the elections. Now, in 1996, MPP went into the elections, not so, and they came out with about 66 members of parliament in a 200-member parliament. 66 members.
J.H. Mensah's group.
J.H. Mensah's group. In 2024, in the 276-member parliament, they came up with 88. That's a full cycle. That's a revolution. The full cycle. You have come full cycle. You've gone back to the position you were in 1996. So there are obviously some very deep questions you must ask yourself. How can the party that used to lose elections, we know the MPP before the Fourth Republic was largely concentrated in the Ashanti region, and that they won elections by banning the CPP. That was what they did, and to be able to win. But from 1996 till 2024, when they lost the elections, the party was growing. Why suddenly the defeat should be a matter of concern to you? But we see clear patterns, and the patterns were very clear, that there was a total hijack of the party by one group of people. And that hijacking of the party resulted in people, some apathy within the party. And the party was no longer dynamic. You didn't need to show that you possess some extraordinary talent or capacity to be able to get a position. You needed just to be in the good book of somebody.
Where are you drawing this from?
I'm drawing this from the fact that when the MPP was in power, there was a private person in this country whose office was as important as the office of the president.
These are conjectures.
They are not conjectures.
And we didn't have that scenario in your time.
Oh,
we didn't have that scenario.
Then this is not facing this implosion.
Inusa, we didn't have this.
I thought that you, as chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee of the party, you want to listen, so that will inform how you go about.
But I'm not going to listen to things
from the NDC.
From the NDC. No.
Well. So if you are going to go along that tangent, because your party is clearly facing existential threats. There are those who think.
These are strong words.
That Nana, yes. There are those who think within your party that Nana Akufo-Addo is largely responsible for the defeat of your party. Nana Akufo-Addo's group too think that the party cannot revive itself if it doesn't ride on his legacy. So you have these two groups to contend with. Those within your party who are calling out Nana Akufo-Addo for their loss. And that until, it's just like admission, confession and avoidance. That, well, admit that you did certain things wrong, and then we can rebuild our party. Whether he will take that bait, I don't know.
But if this is the posture of the NDC in analyzing the NPP's defeat, don't you think you'll be shooting yourself in the foot because there were significant issues, including global circumstances, that led the economy to a point where generally you would expect the populace not to be angry with the NPP the way they were.
Well, I've looked at a report,
and that is not a.
I've looked at the report that is yet to come out. Global issues played a very limited role.
COVID played a limited
role.
Really?
In COVID,
Very soon, just recently,
I say that.
Just recently, one of your ministers, Tala Mohammed, he has gone to admit, just recently,
at an international forum,
when you sit in opposition,
the effects
you say
of
something
COVID
else.
and
When it comes,
Russia,
your man, he's gone there to say that they are sorry.
What I know is that COVID brought.
I'm saying your minister.
I know what I know is that COVID brought more money to this country.
Your minister.
It's okay. Let him continue.
Your minister.
Yeah, go on.
COVID brought more money into this country than monies that came into this country in regular times. And Alejandro, what was his name? The Director General of the World Health Organization had warned us when COVID was about to start that countries should not exploit COVID to impoverish the people of their countries. They don't want us. Now, we also know, have you read the Auditor General report? We discussed it here. It was a report on how not to use public funds. What did they do? So, if you talk about COVID, yes, there were external shocks. And then the relativities. Abba, Samson, MPP asked us in 2020, was it in 2020? 2000. That Ivory Coast was just here next door. Why is it that the economy was better than us? And we're talking about global shocks. That question was submitted to them. They couldn't answer.
Different set of patterns.
Different set of parties. So what we are saying
different
is
set of patterns.
Patterns.
Yeah.
Well, the people have not seen the performance of the NDC yet. So it's actually not guaranteed.
The performance.
The NDC?
Yes.
John Mahama now.
They now even have confidence that this next NDC government under John Mahama will even perform better than the NDC government between 2013 and 2016.
Oh, like seriously?
Oh, but you've not seen the global survey?
You like seriously?
Because the 60% of the people of this Ghana have confidence in John Dramani.
We are wait.
So I'm saying that
we are wait.
You have to deal
it's early days yet
and the technocrats. There are the technocrats in the party who are saying that look, everything that is happening today is because the MPP departed from its core principles and values. You have to deal with them too.
Well, you don't have the likes of him in your party.
Frank, I'll plead with you. Let him.
You don't want
No, please. Because as I can see, your sheet is full of writings. So please continue taking notes. Yeah.
You see, you have to deal with them. And then there are those who thought, and rightly so, even though Bawumia has now, the lawyer say, has his feet firmly on the ground, terra firma. But in 2019 or thereabouts, when you were electing him, he was simply riding on the shoulders of Nana Akufo-Addo. Simply. And that's why, even though you say your report has not been leaked, we have seen page 65 of the report.
Oh, this is not any page 65.
There's no page 65 in your report.
Nobody has.
Someone has removed it from the report.
Please.
What that says that
we understand that is misinformation and disinformation.
Don't take this.
Until we have seen the document, let's not rely on those social media commentary.
Well, we won't rely on them. But we are old enough to know that when Kosiboche's report was launched, we were here.
Yeah.
That time we were operating downstairs. You remember? That MPP was quoting copiously from the report.
No, but
we are here. We are here.
But you said it was in the report.
We are here. But that's what you're saying.
Okay, Frank, I beg you, don't interject again. Even if I could get the camera to zoom in on Frank's piece of paper, he's written on it like it's serious. Yeah.
And see, so It's true. I also know, as a matter of fact, in one of the discussions on Joy FM here, also has said that there was nobody, even before Nana Akufo-Addo put in the bid to become the flag bearer the last time, that there was nobody who could beat Nana Akufo-Addo. And that was true because of his grip on the party. Now, Nana Akufo-Addo is gone. He's not going to be president again. How do you loosen the grip of Nana Akufo-Addo on the party? Frank's team will have to come out with a constitutional design that insulates the delegates and extricate them from the grip of Nana Akufo-Addo. If not, the party will, there will be, there's not a fight for the soul and heart of the party. And the fight is going to grow intense. So there is a lot of work for them to do. You see, I'm speaking this way because I'm a multi-party Democrat. It's when we see that there's a party that's lurking in the wings, capable of taking over the reins of government, that we are minded not to treat the people with contempt. MPP failed disastrously because they underestimated the resolve of the NDC to come back to power. And they continuously deluded themselves into thinking that John Dramani Mahama could not win elections. If you are in a multi-party democracy and you underestimate the resolve of your opponent, you are doomed. And so, for me, I'm speaking this way because I want a vibrant MPP to keep the NDC in check and also to enable us deliver on our mandate.
Okay. Yes, Gloria Furbedu. So, as a stakeholder in the NPP yourself, do you think that the best way is to share the report from you, the members? I don't know where you belong to, as in where you belong to in the party, even though you are not in the leadership, as a former candidate and so on, you should have a stake.
No, a disappointed candidate.
Do you think, do you agree to shelving, as it were, shelving the report from you, the member, so to speak, and resolving the difficulties by the leadership? How is that done?
Well, I would say that, the report aside, there have been talks for constitutional amendments and constitutional review. So that is even enough, on the plate of everybody, how to get substantive review for, of the Constitution so that the party can be all-inclusive when it comes to electing candidates. That is enough discussion for now. So I believe that, we have to look at that constitutional review, which my senior Frank is the chair, okay? And then that can keep us going for a while. And then maybe there's a need to look at other aspects of the report, because I'm sure there's something about constitutional review in the report. But if there's a need to look at other aspects, as and when it comes up, we'll look at it, So that's all I have to say.
From where you sit, as a lawyer and as a stakeholder in this party, which part of the Constitution do you think is impedes your progress after the loss, for which it has to be tweaked?
Frank said something about delegates electing leaders. Okay. As of now, not all party members are delegates. So not all paid-up card-bearing party members are delegates. So some of us are hoping that with time, paid-up card-bearing party members will all have the opportunity to choose their leaders so that some do not feel left out. And then it will even be easier when at the end of the day, the leaders are presented to the general electorate to be voted for if they felt they were part in choosing the, the leaders.
The last time that was an issue, it was suggested that if it was opened in the manner you are suggesting now, Kennedy Japan may have won the election.
Well,
the flag bearership?
Okay, the flag bearership, I think we had about, the Constitution allows 5 persons.
After the first round.
After five are able to contest. So it's still the position. I don't think it will change. The 5 candidates that's the maximum or the limit as to how many people can contest. So with that, I guess we can look forward to card bearing, paid up card bearing, party members being part of the process. And that will augur well for electoral, strength and victory if everybody, they feel they are included.
Are you interested in getting to know the report, Michael Kwei's report?
I'm very interested about the constitutional review because I saw that I was on the ground. I tried to.
The report is what tells you why you lost.
The Constitution.
And what you should do to win.
I'm very interested about the constitutional review, which, in my opinion, constituted a high percentage of why we lost. The fact that the electorate did not feel they were part of the, they were part of those who, the electoral body that elected the leaders.
You have always won without that, and even with smaller electoral college.
No, we haven't.
Kufuor came to power, Akufo-Addo came to power. That's what I mean.
It's a very interesting, dimension. In 92 to 2000, we had the NDC. Then in 2001 January to 2009 January, we had the MPP. Then in 2017 January to 2005 January, we had the MPP, and now we have the NDC. It's vacillating, 8 years between different parties, and that is part of our democracy. What would be interesting is if we are to have more than opportunities for the lesser parties to become, represented in Parliament, in addition to the 2 major parties. For example, in the UK, we have the Labour Party, Cooperative Party, which has the majority in Parliament. Then the Conservative has a coalition. They have coalitions with the Unionist parties, which are also in government. Then the Liberal Democrats, the Scottish National Party. I think if we are to, the new constitutional review is to look at all these opportunities where we can have other parties represented in Parliament. That will also be something that will help us and our democracy in the long term. Because I don't think that the 2 parties reflect all the political positions, beliefs, and aspirations of the citizens of Ghana.
Those who are right now campaigning should be stopped from campaigning for their candidates of choice?
No. Campaigning.
The people who are
the MPP.
Yeah.
The candidates, there's a limit, which is 5. We have an upper limit of 5 candidates. So if there's freedom of expression, freedom of association, and all that, as enshrined in our Constitution, then when the time comes and we find out who the 5 candidates are, then there'll be opportunity for people to campaign.
Okay. So for now, you will subscribe also to disciplinary measures against those who will be going out and saying we should vote for this person when it comes to the time when the season has not yet been announced.
This is a very tricky question.
Okay. So, like Joseph Osei Wusu, former first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, he says that for me, the most critical thing now is that in the end, the NPP should have some consensus on the way forward. What's the way forward he's talking about? The critical issue, if you ask me, is our processes of selecting leaders. That's your concern too. It doesn't matter how we get to that. Once we get to a consensus, we will use it to build our party and move forward with it. Bobby, does it serve the party well for them to say the report will keep it, close to chest, will not reveal the content, why we lost, what we should do to win, but we'll use the report to build the party. And Gloria won't tell me if he's interested in knowing it now, but he's only interested in amendment of the Constitution to give room for an enlarged electoral college to elect the leaders.
Well, I believe the MPP as a political party has enough experience, men and expertise within their fold to decide as a political strategy, maybe in the short term, what to do with that report. I think the NDC too, when the Professor Kwesi Botwe's report came, was also not made public immediately. Let me put it that way. It came in bits of leaks and what have you, which were never really. So I don't think it's out of place for the MPP. I believe that they would have their reasons, and I would not want to conjecture what the reasons are, except to say that at the end of the day, the margin by which the elections were lost will not be lost on anyone. Whether you're a card-bearing member of the MPP, you're a sympathizer, or whatever position you find yourself, that margin will not be lost. I heard Honorable Seni take us back to 1996, when that margin, in terms of the ratio, that was the last time they went, for lack of a better word, that low. But you see, in 2000, the MPP won the election. After coming from that low point, they really marshaled the forces and beat the NDC with a very, interesting margin. Let me put it that way. So I believe that with the experience and the kind of persons they would have a reason for not. But if those that have made the recommendations, they know the recommendations they made. If they do not see the recommendations being implemented or the recommendations being jettisoned, then the apathy will further deepen.
But they need to carry the people along. And so the people must be aware of these problems and the recommendations.
They may have their strategy for carrying the people along. Maybe we are expecting to say that let's publish the report. They may decide to say they have a committee, 9-member committee headed by Senior David.
That's constitution amendments.
Yes, but maybe from what I'm hearing, that may be what they want to focus on now. And build the grassroots, because we have all heard that the allegation is that a lot of people did not go and vote because they felt that the political party structure did not consider their interest either in selecting the running mate, the presidential, the flag bearer, or members of parliament. So if the party has received the report, they may decide to put the report into thematic areas and say that between now and the next 3 months, let's prioritize, like you said, Samson, that they would have to elect their flag bearer sooner than they did. So that may be the priority.
Maybe they are going to even amend that provision.
That is what I'm saying.
And say they should wait until the year of election.
They may decide to say that let's prioritize, because you see, the decision to establish the Constitutional Committee first was taken at the National Council. The National Council is made up of the flag bearer, who now is the leader of the party. I want to think.
In the NPP, in the NPP, the general secretary.
Oh, okay.
The chairman.
The chairman. Okay. Right. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
So they have all those that matter in the party, in that council, and we don't see anything that suggests that that decision was not taken by the council. Right. So they may have put their issues, for lack of a better word, in those thematic areas and decided to take it one by one. And then they may, at the end of the day, like I said, if they do not implement the recommendations, it will show when it matters most. Because the people who have made the recommendations, I read Professor, or is it Dr. Amakon, saying that Amakumba, that if, maybe I'm paraphrasing, the recommendations are not implemented, he would even suggest a breakaway party.
Well, he says they are forming a party.
You see, and this is somebody who, when I started hearing his name, it was said, die in the wool MPP person. And
he even contested the chairman.
National chairman, yes.
Yeah, but he lost abysmally, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there are people who, despite the misgivings, despite the seeming apathy, would have their, like we say, their umbilical cord tied so much to the party that once they feel that their voices are heard, there is inclusion. When Honorable Fuseni was talking about how he has diagnosed the problem of the MPP, you could see that the central point was the seeming hijacking of the party by some cabal, whether it is true or it is not true. But at the end of the day, it is as if a larger people did not feel their voices heard. So if the committee and the subsequent committees that will be formed will at least let those larger people feel that we will hear you. Whether we will take what you say or not is another thing, but we will at least hear you. It will be a step in the right direction.
All right.
At the end of the day, as a democracy, if we have our opposition parties very strong, it will build a democracy.
And you are welcome to bring proposals.
Anyway.
Thank you. I'll send proposals.
Yeah, we have very limited time to talk about Galamsey, but I was interested. You know, Gloria, when what's the name?
President Mama.
Dr. Mwakuba says there's a need to form a different party. Those who set up this, those who were part of this committee, they were part of the problem, and there should have been new people all together to do it. And I can see you still want to focus on the amendment process.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that from your experience, as someone who has contested on the party's ticket before for Bawku South, you feel like people like Kennedy Japan that you need to, if you don't expand it, you don't get grassroots to join and to affect the voting at the national level?
Well, yes, I brought proposals to that effect. That as we went round, we found out people were, they felt disenfranchised, especially former executives and former police station chairs. Some of them were, even removed without knowing what happened. Okay? And they were very hurt, and they kept saying that, well, when it comes to elections, we'll see who will vote, because if the few delegates are selecting the leaders, then when it comes, then we'll also watch them to elect the presidents and members of parliament. So it was going on and on.
So what's the idea?
Back as 2021, I wrote proposals for the National Delegates Conference on the amendments of the Constitution, especially the aspects. And I realized that some others also, there were about 5 of us who wrote those proposals, but they were not considered at the time. And then I remember
every card-bearing member should vote.
Every paid-up card-bearing member should feel a part of the what do you call it?
That's also an expensive enterprise.
Well, it's even cheaper, because then the MPP or the party will get more money, because card-bearing members will be able to show that they've contributed.
Okay.
So that's so important.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will now move on to the matters of Galamsey. There have been raids and there have been discoveries of even places that we never knew that there was a settlement over Galamsey. Let's watch this quickly, and then let's come to the matter of Galamsey.
We supported it. We brought it.
One or two people should be.
This is a whole settlement, we are told, that has in excess of some 10,000 settlers, and it's a Galamsey, place, and they discovered it, and you see they've set alight the buildings, and the people are moving their mattresses, running away, and so on. So the Galamsey problem is really this deep, isn't it? Nana Poku Bosompim, Western Regional Forestry Manager. Thanks for joining us, and briefly, tell us how you came about this, and how you think this forms a part of the process of, overcoming the Galamsey menace.
You more beggar, I'll be winning crying.
Thank you so much, Samson. Good afternoon to you and to your panelists as well. Yes, this is a slum. It is not a community. A slum that has been known for some time. I have been in the Western region for just 2 months. My predecessor did brief me, gave me a brief concerning the slum, and I'm aware from the records at the Forestry Office that some raids have been carried out in these slums some time past. I think 3 different raids have been conducted in these slums, but some way, somehow, the people managed to regroup and come up strongly. So our initial assessment was that there were some 1,005 to 2,000 miners inhabiting the slum. And this is a slum that is just on the periphery of the Subi River Forest Reserve, the largest forest reserve in Ghana. So it was a point of interest. It was a hotspot intervention area. So immediately my priority after taking over as the regional manager was to make sure that slum is removed so that we save that portion of the forest. So quickly, we put a team together. We had the support of the General Officer Commanding Southern Command, who released officers to support the forestry officers. And as you heard of the operation, last week, Monday, we were able to raid the camp and to completely obliterate that slum, not just only that one in crime. There was a second bigger one called Jerusalem, and the third one around Wasan Crime area. So as of today, I can tell you, those illegal slums that served as a haven for illegal miners have been raised down. They are all lying in desolate ruins.
If indeed this place alone contained or housed about 10,000 people, the solution will not be to simply burn the place and drive them away, correct?
You're right. In fact, when we went there, our initial assessment, like I said earlier, was at most some 2,000 people. But when we entered the slum around 3 a.m. in the comfort of the military, then when the operation started and people started coming out, we launched a drone to see, because we are aware there were armed gangs that were running the camp. They are holding AK-47 assault rifles. They have pump action guns, another offensive weapon. So the drone was to detect which people are mobilizing to come after us, only for us to see a host of people, thousands, beating our initial estimating of just 1,005 or just 2,000 people. You navigate the drone to the right, you see thousands of people. To the left, you see thousands of people. To the right, as you see in the video, people fleeing the community. Then we realized that our initial assessment of 2,000 people were just an underestimation. But Samson, that slum provided a haven for...
Oh, did we lose Busumpim there? Interesting, but he will join us back. Yeah. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, please.
Great. So where do you move on from here? And how much of what you have done do you think actually stops Galamsey in this area?
Yes, like I said, a lot of people have come into this community because it provided a haven for them. Not only Ghanaians, people from the sub-region, about 8 African countries were seen in that slum. That's what made me declare that famous statement. It appears the slum is a representation of ECOWAS, right there at the periphery of the forest. So now the strategy is to be able to sustain it. You don't just go sack them and retreat and allow them to rebuild. Because even when we burned down the whole place, the following day, we saw evidence of people trying to build it back. And this time, they are not putting up wooden structures that will bend easily, but rather they were focusing on laying foundation and building concrete blocks. So the strategy now is to be able to patrol the area frequently and then make sure that camp is never rebuilt.
Okay. Please hold on briefly for me. Let me go around. We have very limited time, but my guests are going to do a minute each, and they may need you to answer some questions. Yes, again, starting with you, Frank. This is a really difficult fight.
Samson, you see, when it comes to the same thing, you see, when as political actors, we don't see a situation as a national one and always try to color solutions with politics. That's what's happening. This is an existential threat. I mean, when our water is polluted, it will not discriminate an NPP sympathizer from an NDC sympathizer or from a GCPP sympathizer. But my worry, and I was just telling my friend here, that he was once upon a time Minister for Lands and Natural Resources.
And came under attack.
You see, it beats my imagination how that community has escaped the lenses of the police and, for that matter, the military establishment all this while. Because you are not talking about a community of just about 200 people. We are talking about 10,000. Look, when I heard the news, something I screamed. 10,000. And this is not an area which is not known. They have named the place. Also, so it's a place that is known. It's a bust of commercial activity. So how come it escaped the radar of the police? This is a question.
He says there's a ring
it's a question we must all ponder to ask ourselves and answer.
Does this give us better justification for the declaration of a state of emergency in these areas?
Definitely, Samson. I don't know what the pussyfooting is, but I think we have wasted too much time in doing what is obvious. I mean, all this loud noises that these NDC guys who were in opposition made, they were going to bring Galamsey down in 5 days. Okay. Some said 1 day. I can't see anything.
Unfortunately, I have just a minute. Unfortunately, I have just a minute to spare. Inus of Seni, people say, now, if you want a reason for a state of emergency to be declared, here you have it.
I think basically,
you have just a minute.
I think basically, this Brunei and Krem community should be investigated. Now, because as a former Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, I've always said that the primary responsibility of safeguarding the communities is vested in the district chief executive and not the police. So are you telling me that the district chief executive of that area never knew of the existence of this unity?
All right, unfortunately our time is up. Thank you very much, Yunus Afuseni, Frank Davies, Gloria Foribuedu, Bobby Banson, and also to you, Nana Poku Bosompim, Western Regional Forestry Manager. My outfit, as always, is by Konati Clothing. You can call them 0244 676732. That's Konati Clothing. And the show is also brought to you by Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. DBS Industries, roofing, Papa Fie, Flamingo Paint, simply superior. Syntex Tank is strong, it's tough. Activa International Insurance. Our clients are passion. Have a good afternoon.
MTN. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. Where Duraplas goes, water flows.
DBS Industries has introduced a new roofing system known as ColorLink Plus.
Flamingo Paint, simply superior.
Syntex Tank, are you strong? Are you tough? Cherry Tree Properties. We develop spaces as though we were going to occupy them.
Ghana
has depended on exporting commodities such as oil, gas, cocoa, gold, and other goods for years. Salt, another valuable resource abundant along Ghana's coastline, remains less explored. The Songo Lagoon in Adda, located in the Greater Accra region of Ghana, is the largest salt reserve in the country. Unfortunately, the country has not been able to fully harness the potential of the salt mine, capable of providing employment opportunities to thousands of Ghanaians. 3 policy plans proposed for the development of salt resources in Ghana couldn't see the light of day. In this documentary, we investigate the reasons behind failed attempts to commercialize the Songo salt mine and the way forward. Under 4 successive regimes in Ghana's history, several companies and a list of individuals have attempted and failed in their quest to industrialize and drive sustainable development of salt at Adda. These failures were not because of a lack of capital. With government's quest to drive sustainable development of salt at Adda, 2 companies, Vacuum Salt and Star Chemicals, were given the lease to operate in the area.
Originally, it was about 37 square miles, but later on, government came in and said, well, it was going to share it 3 times, a 3. One for the chiefs again, and then one for Mr. Nate, and then in other words, it was divided into 3 parts.
Unfortunately, these 2 companies couldn't survive, and it wasn't because of capital.
Then started conflict because the methods used for industrial production conflicted with the traditional methods. Industrial production of salt should always have the lagoon full of brine, completely at loggerheads with the traditional methods, which would mean when the lagoon gets filled, they wait until it dries up, typically towards Hamatan, and then salt is formed in the lagoon, and then they mine it. So, clear case for conflict.
Another former managing director of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Peter Claver Aqua, confirms this.
Now, if you look at this map, as I have already indicated, it was necessary for the modern technology